The Graces, or Charities, are divine beings of unparalleled beauty, charm and harmony, daughters of Zeus and Eurynome. In the vast realm of Greek mythology, they embody the delicate balance of grace, joy and creativity. Known for their enchanting presence, the Graces are the personifications of the finer pleasures in life, bringing lightness to both the divine and mortal realms. These goddesses, often seen as attendants to the goddess Aphrodite, represent all that is beautiful and harmonious, their very being tied to the arts, music, dance, and love. Their influence is seen in the gentle rhythms of life, where beauty and joy coexist with the hardships of existence. As we unfold their story, we will follow the path of the Charities, from their birth in the heavens to their role in the world of gods and mortals. Let the serene beauty of their journey soothe your mind and guide you into a peaceful slumber. Each chapter will unfold their myth with timeless grace, reminding us of the quiet elegance that shapes the world around us. Please like, subscribe, and share where you are watching from as we begin the restful journey through the lives of the Graces. In the early days of the world, when the heavens were still being shaped by the will of the gods, the mighty Zeus, ruler of the Olympian gods, united with Eurynome, a daughter of the Titans. Their union brought forth the Charities, also known as the Graces, 3 beautiful goddesses who embodied the essence of charm, elegance, and kindness. The world, still in its infancy, welcomed these goddesses with open arms, for their presence would forever shape the beauty and joy that would permeate the earth. The Charities were born on Mount Olympus, the sacred home of the gods, where divine beings resided in harmony, surrounded by fields of ambrosia and the ever-flowing rivers of time. Their birth was an event that would echo through the generations, for the Graces were not merely goddesses of physical beauty, but of inner charm, grace, and kindness as well. They would bring joy to the gods themselves and to the mortal world. Their gentle influence felt in the fleeting moments of life that often pass unnoticed. As they grew, the Graces began to embody the finer aspects of existence, those fleeting moments of joy and wonder that brighten the otherwise mundane. Their names, though often lost to history, were said to be Euphrosyne, Aglaia, and Thalia. Each one of the 3 goddesses represented an essential element of grace and beauty, and together they were the living, breathing embodiments of everything that made life worth living. Euphrosyne, the eldest, personified joy and merriment. Her very presence was said to lift the spirits of those around her, and her laughter echoed through the halls of Olympus, a sound so sweet that it could banish even the darkest of moods. She was the goddess who made life feel light, who reminded the gods that joy was as essential as power. Her charm was subtle yet profound, for it was the kind of joy that came not from grand gestures, but from the simple beauty of a shared moment, a smile exchanged, a song sung in harmony. Aglaia, the second, represented beauty in all its forms. She was the embodiment of elegance, the kind of beauty that could not be captured by mere appearances alone. Her radiance was not just external, but internal, for she inspired the kind of beauty that moved the soul. Aglaia was the goddess who blessed the works of art and the talents of poets and sculptors. For beauty was not only in the eyes of the beholder, but in the heart of the creator. Her influence was felt in the creative endeavors of both gods and mortals, where her presence brought forth masterpieces of every kind. Thalia, the youngest of the Graces, embodied festivity and creativity. She was the goddess of good cheer and celebration, of those moments when life paused and the world danced in harmony. Thalia's spirit could be found in every joyful gathering, in the laughter that filled the air at weddings, in the music that accompanied banquets, and in the dances that swirled under the stars. Her creativity was boundless, and she brought a sense of freedom and delight to all who encountered her. She reminded the world that life was meant to be celebrated, that joy and festivity were vital to the human spirit. Together, the three Graces formed a triad that represented all that was good and beautiful in the world. They were the first to bring harmony to the gods, and their influence stretched beyond Olympus, extending into the mortal realm. When the Graces appeared, the world seemed to shimmer with a quiet light, a reflection of their divine nature. Their very presence was an invitation to embrace beauty and joy, to recognize the fleeting moments of grace that grace our lives. Though the Graces were daughters of Zeus, their powers were not the same as those of the Olympian deities who ruled over elements like thunder or the seas. Instead, they held dominion over more delicate forces, those intangible qualities that bring beauty to the world and joy to the heart. The Graces were not rulers in the traditional sense. They were the heart and soul of the divine, the gentle force that smoothed the rough edges of existence. They had the power to bring harmony to any situation, to calm the storms of the heart, and to heal the wounds of the soul. The Graces were not alone in their work, for they were often accompanied by other divine beings, such as the Muses, who inspired creativity and artistic expression. Together, they formed a pantheon of deities that governed the intangible aspects of existence. While the gods of war and wisdom held sway over the more tangible elements of the world, it was the Graces and their companions who held dominion over the joys of life, the beauty that could be found in the quiet moments, and the love that bound everything together. As the Graces came of age, they began to serve the gods in their own unique ways. Their talents and gifts made them invaluable to those who sought beauty, joy, and creativity. Whether they were dancing at the feasts of the gods or inspiring the works of mortal artists, the Graces were always at the heart of what made the world beautiful. They were the divine muses of existence, the ones who infused the world with light and love, In the world of gods and mortals, the Graces became symbols of the qualities that made life worth living. They embodied the beauty of the world that could not be captured by mere appearances, the kind of beauty that touched the soul and made everything feel right. In a world where so much was governed by power and force, the Graces reminded everyone of the importance of gentleness, kindness, and the simple pleasures of life. The Graces, or Charities, are not simply figures of beauty or the embodiment of charm. They hold a far more significant role in the fabric of Greek mythology. Though often overshadowed by more prominent deities like Zeus, Apollo, or Hera, the Graces were integral to the balance of the divine and mortal worlds, influencing the lives of gods and mortals alike with their divine gifts of joy, beauty, and creativity. They were the subtle yet vital forces that brought harmony, joy, and artistic inspiration, acting as a counterbalance to the more intense and often destructive powers of the gods. In the world of the gods, the Graces represented the softer, more delicate qualities that were as necessary as the forces of war or wisdom. They were the goddesses who embodied the balance between action and contemplation, between power and gentleness, while the mighty gods like Athena, the goddess of wisdom, or Ares, the god of war, often took center stage in mythological stories. The Graces provided the crucial moments of respite, grace, and beauty that made the divine world a place worth inhabiting. Their influence was not over elements like the sea or the sky, but over the soul, the part of the world that needed beauty, gentleness, and love. The Graces played a unique role in the divine social order. Unlike many other deities, their power was not wielded through force or dominance, but through the ability to create harmony and inspire beauty. They were often depicted as attendants to the goddesses Aphrodite and Hera, acting as companions in the realms of love, marriage, and beauty. In fact, the Charites were inseparable from the ideas of love and harmony, so much so that their very presence was enough to elevate any celebration, moment, or gathering into something divine. As goddesses of beauty, joy, and charm, the Graces were present at the most significant and joyous occasions. They were often invoked during weddings, festivals, and celebrations, bringing a divine touch to every gathering. Their role was not just to bless these events with their presence, but to infuse them with the lightness and joy that they embodied. In this way, the Graces represented the idea that life, while filled with challenges and hardships, must also be filled with moments of joy, love, and celebration. They reminded the gods and mortals alike that beauty and harmony were not mere luxuries, but necessary aspects of life. While their primary role was to inspire joy, the Graces also had a profound influence on the arts, particularly dance and music. In ancient Greece, these two forms of artistic expression were seen as ways to elevate the human spirit, to express emotions and ideas that words alone could not capture. The Graces were frequently depicted as dancers, moving gracefully in perfect harmony, their movements symbolic of the flow of life itself. They were the muses of joy, encouraging both gods and mortals to embrace beauty and creativity in their lives. Through their influence, the world was filled with music, art, and dance that transcended the ordinary, bringing the divine into the everyday. In many depictions, the Graces are shown as dancing together, often with their arms linked in perfect unity. This image of unity and harmony was reflective of their role in the world. They were not just individual goddesses. They were a triad, working in harmony to bring balance and beauty wherever they went. Their connection to each other mirrored the connection they sought to inspire in the world. A world where beauty, kindness, and joy could flow seamlessly between all beings, both divine and mortal. The Graces also embodied the idea of divine favor. To be in the presence of the Graces was to be blessed, and their favor was considered essential for success in many areas of life. Artists, poets, and musicians would often pray to the Charites for inspiration, believing that their divine touch would grant them the ability to create works of enduring beauty. In a world that often felt chaotic and uncertain, the Graces were the embodiment of the order and harmony that brought peace to the soul. Their presence provided a sense of tranquility and joy, reminding everyone who encountered them that life, despite its challenges, was also filled with beauty. Beyond their influence in the arts, the Graces were also essential figures in the realm of human relationships, particularly in love and marriage. In a culture where family bonds were paramount, the Graces represented the ideal of harmonious relationships. They were often depicted as the bringers of joy and love, making them central figures in the rituals of marriage. In this way, the Charites were not just goddesses of beauty, but goddesses of the heart. They embodied the ideals of love, generosity, and kindness that formed the foundation of human connections. Through their influence, mortals were encouraged to embrace these virtues in their own relationships. While the Graces were often associated with the more joyous aspects of life, their influence extended to the darker corners of human existence as well. In times of war or hardship, it was said that the Graces had the power to soothe the pain of loss and despair. Their gentle influence could bring comfort to those suffering, reminding them of the beauty that still existed in the world. In this way, the Graces were not merely decorative figures in the mythology of the gods, but were active agents of peace, beauty, and harmony, always seeking to restore balance in times of turmoil. In some ways, the Charites represent the way that beauty can be both a balm and a weapon. While they brought joy and harmony, they also had the power to influence the hearts of gods and mortals. A fleeting moment of beauty, a burst of creativity, or a song that stirs the soul can change the course of events. For beauty has a profound effect on the human heart. The Graces, through their subtle influence, reminded everyone that the true power of the world lay not in might or force, but in the ability to inspire joy and kindness. In Greek mythology, The Graces were also sometimes associated with the cycle of life itself. Just as beauty and grace are temporary, so too is life itself. The Graces were seen as a reminder of the fleeting nature of time and the importance of embracing the beauty of the present moment. They were the embodiment of the idea that life is meant to be lived fully and with joy. That the small moments of grace that pass us by are just as important as the grand events that define our existence. The Graces were more than just embodiments of beauty and joy. They were trusted companions to the gods themselves. In the realm of Olympus, where gods and goddesses held dominion over all aspects of the world, the Graces played a role that was both subtle and vital. Their presence in the divine court was not defined by the wielding of power or force, but by their ability to enhance the lives of those around them. The Graces were known for their harmonious nature, their capacity to elevate the atmosphere wherever they went, bringing joy and lightness even to the most serious of gatherings. As attendants to the great goddess Aphrodite, the goddess of love, the Charites were at the heart of divine beauty. Aphrodite, who was the very embodiment of love and sensuality, was often accompanied by the Graces in the divine feasts that took place in the halls of Olympus. They were her closest companions, amplifying her power and beauty. And in turn, the Graces themselves became revered for their connection to the goddess of love. Their shared role reflected the interconnectedness of all the divine attributes: love, joy, and beauty, each of which was essential to the balance of the cosmos. Together, the Graces and Aphrodite brought forth not only the beauty of love, but the joy of shared connection. They were seen as the perfect trio, for Aphrodite represented the allure of love, while the Graces embodied the joy, charm, and gentleness that love can bring. It was through their companionship with Aphrodite that the Graces were able to weave their influence into the very fabric of human relationships, elevating love and joy to a divine art. The Graces were also frequent attendants of Zeus, the king of the gods. As the ruler of Olympus, Zeus was often burdened with the weight of his power and responsibilities, and the Graces, with their light-hearted nature, offered him moments of relief. Their presence in the feasts of the gods, where they danced and played, reminded Zeus and the other Olympians of the importance of joy and celebration in the midst of their divine duties. They were the light-hearted touch that softened the intensity of the divine world, a necessary balance to the often heavy and serious affairs of the gods. In addition to their time spent with Aphrodite and Zeus, the Graces were also seen in the company of Apollo, the god of music, poetry, and prophecy. Apollo, known for his artistic pursuits, was often accompanied by the Graces in his creative endeavors. The Graces' influence on Apollo's music and poetry was significant, as they inspired him to create works that were not only beautiful, but filled with joy and harmony. Their companionship with Apollo emphasized the connection between beauty and creativity, with the Graces serving as the divine muses who inspired the artist to produce works that transcended the ordinary. The Graces were also known to assist the other gods in their roles, serving as companions who brought harmony and joy to their respective domains. Dionysus, the god of wine, revelry, and celebration, would often find himself in the company of the Charites, for their joyful and playful nature fit perfectly with his own spirited domain. The Graces were seen at the feasts and celebrations that mark the revelry of Dionysus, bringing their elegant dances and music to the wild parties that celebrated life and excess. Through their presence, they added an air of grace and beauty to what would otherwise be unrestrained and chaotic revelry. Similarly, the Graces were companions to Hermes, the messenger god, who moved effortlessly between the divine and mortal realms. Their light-hearted and charming nature made them well suited to be seen in the company of Hermes, whose role was often to bring messages of change or transition. The Graces, with their influence, helped to soften the messages of change, turning them into opportunities for joy, celebration, and the embrace of beauty. They were an essential part of the divine world, helping to maintain harmony between the gods and the mortal world. Though the Graces were not as frequently depicted as other gods and goddesses in myth, their role was no less important. They were the divine companions who helped bring balance to the often tumultuous and intense emotions of the gods. Where other gods represented force, power, or wisdom, the Graces represented beauty, charm, and kindness. Their influence was subtle but far-reaching, for the joy and beauty they embodied were essential for the gods' well-being. Without the Graces, the world of the gods would have been darker, less harmonious, and lacking in the lightness and grace that made their existence truly divine. The Graces were not just companions to the gods, but they also served as a reminder to mortals of the beauty that could be found in life. In the same way that the gods found joy in their companionship, mortals were encouraged to find beauty and grace in the small moments of their own lives. The Graces were seen as divine exemplars of the idea that life, though filled with challenges, should also be filled with moments of lightness, joy, and celebration. It was through their interactions with the gods and their presence in the divine feasts and celebrations that the Graces began to shape the very nature of divine and mortal relationships. Their influence was seen in the way the gods interacted with each other, and in the way mortals celebrated the beauty of life. Through the Graces, the gods were reminded that the pursuit of beauty and joy was just as important as the pursuit of power or wisdom. As companions to the gods, the Graces also represented the idea that even the most powerful beings in the universe needed moments of respite, joy, and beauty to remain whole. They were the reminder that power, while necessary, was not enough to sustain the divine. It was through beauty, grace, and joy that the gods were able to maintain their balance and harmony. And the Graces were the divine figures who ensured that the world of the gods and the world of mortals would always have a touch of elegance and grace. The Graces were more than just embodiments of beauty and joy. They were trusted companions to the gods themselves. In the realm of Olympus, where gods and goddesses held dominion over all aspects of the world, the Graces played a role that was both subtle and vital. Their presence in the divine court was not defined by the wielding of power or force, but by their ability to enhance the lives of those around them. The Graces were known for their harmonious nature, their capacity to elevate the atmosphere wherever they went, bringing joy and lightness even to the most serious of gatherings. As attendants to the great goddess Aphrodite, the goddess of love, the Charites were at the heart of divine beauty. Aphrodite, who was the very embodiment of love and sensuality, was often accompanied by the Graces in the divine feasts that took place in the halls of Olympus. They were her closest companions, amplifying her power and beauty, and in turn, the Graces themselves became revered for their connection to the goddess of love. Their shared role reflected the interconnectedness of all the divine attributes: love, joy, and beauty, each of which was essential to the balance of the cosmos. Together, the Graces and Aphrodite brought forth not only the beauty of love, but the joy of shared connection. They were seen as the perfect trio, for Aphrodite represented the allure of love, while the Graces embodied the joy, charm, and gentleness that love can bring. It was through their companionship with Aphrodite that the Graces were able to weave their influence into the very fabric of human relationships, elevating love and joy to a divine art. The Graces were also frequent attendants of Zeus, the king of the gods. As the ruler of Olympus, Zeus was often burdened with the weight of his power and responsibilities, and the Graces, with their light-hearted nature, offered him moments of relief. Their presence in the feasts of the gods, where they danced and played, reminded Zeus and the other Olympians of the importance of joy and celebration in the midst of their divine duties. They were the light-hearted touch that softened the intensity of the divine world, a necessary balance to the often heavy and serious affairs of the gods. In addition to their time spent with Aphrodite and Zeus, the Graces were also seen in the company of Apollo, the god of music, poetry, and prophecy. Apollo, known for his artistic pursuits, was often accompanied by the Graces in his creative endeavors. The Graces' influence on Apollo's music and poetry was significant, as they inspired him to create works that were not only beautiful, but filled with joy and harmony. Their companionship with Apollo emphasized the connection between beauty and creativity, with the Graces serving as the divine muses who inspired the artist to produce works that transcended the ordinary. The Graces were also known to assist the other gods in their roles, serving as companions who brought harmony and joy to their respective domains. Dionysus, the god of wine, revelry, and celebration, would often find himself in the company of the Charites, for their joyful and playful nature fit perfectly with his own spirited domain. The Graces were seen at the feasts and celebrations that marked the revelry of Dionysus, bringing their elegant dances and music to the wild parties that celebrated life and excess. Through their presence, they added an air of grace and beauty to what would otherwise be unrestrained and chaotic revelry. Similarly, the Graces were companions to Hermes, the messenger god, who moved effortlessly between the divine and mortal realms. Their light-hearted and charming nature made them well suited to be seen in the company of Hermes, whose role was often to bring messages of change or transition. The Graces, with their influence, helped to soften the messages of change, turning them into opportunities for joy, celebration, and the embrace of beauty. They were an essential part of the divine world, helping to maintain harmony between the gods and the mortal world. Though the Graces were not as frequently depicted as other gods and goddesses in myth, their role was no less important. They were the divine companions who helped bring balance to the often tumultuous and intense emotions of the gods. Where other gods represented force, power, or wisdom, the Graces represented beauty, charm, and kindness. Their influence was subtle but far-reaching, for the joy and beauty they embodied were essential for the gods' well-being. Without the Graces, the world of the gods would have been darker, less harmonious, and lacking in the lightness and grace that made their existence truly divine. The Graces were not just companions to the gods, but they also served as a reminder to mortals of the beauty that could be found in life. In the same way that the gods found joy in their companionship, mortals were encouraged to find beauty and grace in the small moments of their own lives. The Graces were seen as divine exemplars of the idea that life, though filled with challenges, should also be filled with moments of lightness, joy, and celebration. It was through their interactions with the gods and their presence in the divine feasts and celebrations that the Graces began to shape the very nature of divine and mortal relationships. Their influence was seen in the way the gods interacted with each other, and in the way mortals celebrated the beauty of life. Through the Graces, the gods were reminded that the pursuit of beauty and joy was just as important as the pursuit of power or wisdom. As companions to the gods, the Graces also represented the idea that even the most powerful beings in the universe needed moments of respite, joy, and beauty to remain whole. They were the reminder that power, while necessary, was not enough to sustain the divine. It was through beauty, grace, and joy that the gods were able to maintain their balance and harmony. And the Graces were the divine figures who ensured that the world of the gods and the world of mortals would always have a touch of elegance and grace. In the world of Greek mythology, the Graces were not just known for their beauty and charm. They were also deeply intertwined with the arts, particularly dance and music. These two forms of creative expression were sacred to the gods, and it was the Graces who represented the divine essence of artistic movement, rhythm, and harmony. The Charities were often depicted dancing and playing music, their every motion a reflection of the beauty and grace that they embodied. Dance, for the Graces, was not simply an art form. It was a way of connecting with the divine. It was said that when the Graces danced, the world itself seemed to shimmer with light, as if the very air around them was alive with beauty. Their dances were performed in perfect harmony, each step synchronized with the others, a symbol of unity and grace. To watch them dance was to witness the embodiment of divine beauty, a beauty that transcended the physical and reached deep into the soul. In the halls of Olympus, the Graces were often called upon to dance at the feasts of the gods, where their movements brought joy and lightness to the celebrations. Their dances were not performed for entertainment alone. They were a form of divine ritual. The gods and goddesses who gathered to feast on Mount Olympus were reminded through the Graces' dances of the importance of beauty and harmony in the world. The Graces were, in this sense, not just entertainers. They were the divine messengers of joy, inviting the gods to pause and appreciate the grace that existed in their own lives. The Graces' role in dance was symbolic of the way beauty, like a dance, flows through life in a seamless, graceful pattern. Every step they took, every twirl and leap, was a representation of the way life should be lived, fluid, harmonious, and in sync with the greater rhythms of the universe. Dance, as embodied by the Charites, became a reflection of the divine order, reminding both gods and mortals that beauty and joy could be found in the simplest of movements. Alongside their association with dance, the Graces were also deeply connected to music. Music, like dance, was a divine gift that had the power to stir the soul. The Graces were often depicted with musical instruments, such as lyres or flutes, playing melodies that could bring joy to the hearts of all who heard them. Their music was not just a form of entertainment, it was a sacred art, a channel through which the divine could be expressed. It was said that when the Graces played music, it had the power to calm troubled hearts and lift the spirits of those who listened. Music, in the world of the gods, was the language of the soul. The Graces' melodies, whether played at a divine banquet or during a festival on earth, carried a sense of harmony that resonated deeply with the hearts of both gods and mortals. In the divine halls of Olympus, where the gods gathered to partake in the wonders of life, the Graces' music filled the air, transforming the atmosphere into one of serenity and joy. Through their music, they reminded the gods and the mortals alike of the importance of taking time to appreciate the beauty and harmony of existence. The Graces' music was not always a formal performance. They were also seen as muses, inspiring the work of other artists, poets, and musicians. Just as they accompanied Aphrodite, the goddess of love, they also accompanied Apollo, the god of music, poetry, and prophecy. Apollo, who was known for his musical and artistic abilities, found great inspiration in the Graces. The Charites, with their beauty and charm, were a natural complement to Apollo's artistic pursuits. Together, they created some of the most enchanting and harmonious works in Greek mythology. In fact, it was said that the Graces, along with Apollo and the Muses, were responsible for the creation of much of the art, music, and poetry that defined the culture of the gods. The Graces brought their own unique touch to these works, imbuing them with a sense of grace, joy, and beauty that elevated them beyond mere creations. The art that emerged from this divine collaboration was not just beautiful, it was transformative. It had the power to stir emotions, uplift the soul, and inspire the hearts of those who experienced it. As goddesses of charm and beauty, the Graces also influenced the mortal realm. Musicians, dancers, and artists who sought divine inspiration would pray to the Charites, asking for their favor and guidance. It was believed that those who were blessed by the Graces would create works of extraordinary beauty and elegance. Their influence extended far beyond the borders of Mount Olympus, touching the lives of mortals and inspiring the greatest works of art, music, and poetry in Greek culture. The Graces' role in the arts was not just about inspiration. It was also about the connection between beauty and creativity. They taught that beauty, whether in the form of a dance, a song, or a painting, was not just a physical attribute, but something that came from within. True beauty, the kind that could move the soul, was created through the harmonious blending of the heart and the mind, of the divine and the mortal. The Graces were the embodiment of this concept, reminding both gods and mortals that art is not just about technique, but about the expression of the inner beauty that exists in all things. Their influence was seen not just in the works of artists, but in the everyday lives of those who sought beauty in the world. The Graces reminded mortals that beauty could be found in every moment, whether in the laughter of a child, the dance of a breeze, or the music that filled the air during a feast. They embodied the idea that beauty is not something that can be captured or controlled, but something that flows freely through the world, to be appreciated and celebrated. In this way, the Graces were more than just goddesses of beauty. They were the divine forces that brought beauty to life in all its forms. Through their dances and music, they created a world where beauty, joy, and creativity were essential parts of existence. They helped to shape the very nature of the divine and mortal worlds, reminding all who encountered them of the importance of living a life filled with grace, harmony, and artistic expression. In the world of Greek mythology, the Graces were not only companions to the great goddesses like Aphrodite, but also to the Muses, 9 goddesses who inspired creativity, wisdom, and the arts. Together, the Muses and the Graces formed a powerful divine circle, a union of inspiration and beauty that transcended the physical world. While the Muses were often associated with the intellectual aspects of art, poetry, history, astronomy, and dance, the Graces represented the more aesthetic and joyful elements of life. Their collaboration brought a harmonious balance to the artistic world, combining intellect with beauty and structure with joy. The Muses, daughters of Zeus and Mnemosyne, were seen as the divine sources of knowledge, wisdom, and the intellectual aspects of creativity. Each muse had dominion over a different form of artistic expression. Calliope, the muse of epic poetry; Clio, the muse of history; Euterpe, the muse of music; Melpomene, the muse of tragedy, and so on. The Muses were often invoked by poets, philosophers, and artists, seeking inspiration to create works that were both profound and lasting. Their role was to inspire the creative minds of both gods and mortals, encouraging the birth of ideas that could change the course of history. While the Muses were celebrated for their intellectual and creative powers, the Graces brought an essential, softer influence to the artistic world. Their connection to beauty, charm, and joy ensured that the creations inspired by the Muses were not only brilliant, but also filled with light and grace. In this divine partnership, the Graces enhanced the work of the Muses, infusing the creations with an effortless elegance and a sense of joy that could touch the soul of anyone who encountered them. In many artistic depictions, the Graces and the Muses are shown together, dancing, singing, and playing music. While the Muses inspired the intellectual creativity that birthed great works of art, the Graces helped to elevate these creations into something that could move the heart and the spirit. Their dances, often seen in the company of Apollo and other gods, became a physical manifestation of the beauty that inspired art. They were a reminder that, while the intellect could create, it was beauty and grace that gave life to those creations, making them timeless. The union of the Graces and the Muses symbolized the delicate balance between the mind and the heart, between reason and passion. The Muses, with their vast knowledge and intellectual depth, would inspire the foundations of a work, whether it be a poem, a song, or a philosophical treatise. The Graces, with their charm, elegance, and beauty, would then take those foundations and breathe life into them, making them not only intellectually profound, but emotionally resonant. It was the Graces' touch that made art truly divine, turning something simple into something transcendent. For example, a poet might have called upon the muse of epic poetry, Calliope, to help them write a grand and moving tale. But it was the Graces who would have infused the poem with rhythm, beauty, and a joy that made it sing to the heart. Similarly, a sculptor might have sought the inspiration of the muse of sculpture, but it was the Graces who gave the statue its elegance and its ability to capture the spirit of the subject. Together, the Muses and the Graces worked in harmony to create art that not only captured the mind, but also stirred the soul. The connection between the Graces and the Muses also extended into the everyday lives of mortals. In Greek society, artists, musicians, and poets would often pray to the Muses for inspiration, hoping to receive divine guidance in their creative endeavors. But it was the Graces who helped transform this inspiration into something universally beautiful and meaningful. When the Graces were involved, their influence ensured that the art was not only beautiful, but also filled with the joy and harmony of life itself. The Graces were particularly revered in the context of music and dance. While the Muses inspired the creation of musical compositions, the Graces were the ones who made those compositions come alive. Their dances were not just performances. They were sacred rituals that gave life to the music. As the muses played their melodies and the gods sang their songs, the Graces danced in perfect harmony, their movements reflecting the rhythms of the universe itself. Through their graceful steps, the Graces turned music and dance into something sacred, something that connected both the divine and mortal realms. In this way, the Graces were not just divine companions to the muses. They were the embodiment of the joy and beauty that infused all artistic endeavors. They reminded both gods and mortals that art was not just a product of intellect, but also a manifestation of the joy, beauty, and grace that existed in the world. Without the Graces, the works of the muses might have lacked the warmth and elegance that made them truly transformative. Together, the Graces and muses formed a divine partnership that elevated the arts to a level of beauty and profundity that resonated through time. This relationship between the Graces and the muses also reflects the importance of balance in the creation of art. Art is not just about skill or knowledge. It is about the ability to connect with others on an emotional level, to move the heart as well as the mind. The Graces ensured that this balance was always maintained. Their presence in the divine creative process, reminding all who worked in the arts that beauty and joy were just as important as wisdom and intellect. Through their collaboration with the muses, the Graces helped to create a world where art could inspire and uplift, where creativity could flow freely, and where beauty was not just an outward appearance, but an inner truth. They were the divine force that made the arts come alive, infusing each work with the grace, charm, and beauty that made it resonate with the soul. The concept of charis, meaning grace, was deeply ingrained in ancient Greek culture, and it is from this word that the Graces, or charites, derived their name. In its essence, charis represented more than just physical beauty or elegance. It embodied a deeper, more profound form of beauty, one that was linked to kindness, generosity, and the intangible qualities that make a person beloved and revered. The Graces, as personifications of this divine grace, were symbols of these qualities in their purest form, reminding both gods and mortals that true beauty is as much about the heart as it is about appearance. To the ancient Greeks, charis was central to the concept of divine favor. A person who possessed charis was seen as someone who was gifted with an almost magical ability to charm and delight others, and it was believed that this grace was bestowed by the gods. The Graces themselves were not just beautiful goddesses of charm. They were the divine embodiments of charis, and their presence was said to imbue others with this special grace. Their role was to elevate those they touched, to remind both the gods and mortals that the beauty of the soul was just as important as the beauty of the body. In many ways, charis can be seen as a bridge between the gods and humans. The Graces, as daughters of Zeus, were divine beings who could bestow this grace upon mortals, allowing them to experience a glimpse of the divine. This concept of divine grace was not limited to moments of physical beauty or artistic inspiration. It was about the intangible kindness, generosity, and joy that could be spread from one person to another. The Graces were the divine figures who embodied these qualities, and, in doing so, made the world a more harmonious and joyful place. In Greek mythology, charis was not just about the outward expression of beauty or charm. It was also tied to the idea of reciprocal kindness. The Graces were known for their generosity and their ability to spread joy and happiness to those they encountered. They would often be seen offering their assistance to the gods, helping with tasks or rituals that required their unique abilities. In this sense, the Graces were not just symbols of beauty. They were symbols of the interconnectedness of all things, reminding mortals and gods alike that the world flourished when kindness and generosity were shared. The concept of charis also had a more spiritual dimension. It was believed that those who embodied charis were touched by the divine, that they had a special connection to the gods themselves. In this way, charis was not just a physical attribute, it was a divine blessing, a gift from the gods that elevated a person's life and brought them closer to the divine. The Graces, as the living embodiments of charis, represented the way in which beauty, kindness, and joy could transform the world. Through their influence, the Graces helped to bridge the gap between the human and divine realms, showing that the divine could be found in the smallest of acts of grace and kindness. The power of charis was so profound that it extended beyond the realm of beauty and joy. It was also believed that charis could bring people together, fostering connections and relationships that were based on mutual respect, love, and kindness. The Graces were seen as the bringers of these relationships, as they had the power to connect individuals in a way that transcended the mundane. Their presence was often invoked in moments of celebration, such as weddings, feasts, and gatherings, where their influence could transform the occasion into something truly magical. The Graces, through their embodiment of charis, also played a key role in the relationships between gods and mortals. It was said that when mortals were blessed with charis, they were able to form stronger connections with the gods, who favored them for their beauty, kindness, and generosity. This connection between charis and divine favor was central to Greek religious practices. Mortals would often seek the blessings of the Graces, hoping that their charis would bring them closer to the gods and, in turn, grant them divine favor. As symbols of divine grace, the Graces were also closely linked to the concept of charis, which referred to the grace and charm that could be found in acts of giving and receiving. The Graces were often depicted as offering gifts to the gods or to mortals, and their acts of giving were seen as a reflection of their divine nature. This concept of giving and receiving was central to the idea of charis. It was through the sharing of grace and kindness that the world became a more beautiful and harmonious place. The Graces, with their radiant beauty and joyful nature, reminded all who encountered them that beauty was not just something to be admired, but something to be shared. The Graces, as the divine embodiments of Charis, also played an important role in Greek society. In a culture that placed a high value on the idea of hospitality, the Graces were seen as the divine protectors of good manners, generosity, and kindness. They were invoked during feasts and banquets, where their presence ensured that the gathering would be one of joy, unity, and harmony. The Graces reminded the gods and mortals alike that true beauty came not from appearances alone, but from the way one treated others. Their influence was a reminder that the grace with which we give and receive is what ultimately makes life beautiful. Through their association with Charis, the Graces brought beauty, kindness, and joy into the world in a way that transcended the physical. They embodied the idea that beauty, when accompanied by generosity and love, becomes something divine. Their role in Greek mythology was not just to be admired for their outward beauty, but to inspire all who encountered them to embody the same qualities of grace, kindness, and joy in their own lives. Through the Graces, the concept of Charis was brought to life, reminding the world that beauty is not just something we see, but something we feel, share, and pass on to others. Though the Graces were born of the gods, their influence stretched far beyond the divine realm, extending into the world of mortals. In Greek culture, where the boundaries between the divine and human worlds were often blurred, the Graces were seen as intermediaries, goddesses who brought the joy, beauty, and harmony of the gods into the everyday lives of people. The Graces were not just figures of myth. They were symbols of the qualities that made life worth living. Through their influence, they reminded mortals that beauty, love, and joy were as essential to the soul as any material possession or earthly achievement. The Graces' role in mortal life was not limited to times of celebration or festivity. They were invoked in daily rituals, where their presence was believed to bring grace and charm to the mundane aspects of life. Whether it was through a simple gesture of kindness, a song sung in a moment of happiness, or a dance shared between friends, the Graces infused these moments with divine beauty. They reminded mortals that beauty could be found in the smallest of actions, and that grace, kindness, and joy were always within reach, even in the most ordinary circumstances. In the context of Greek society, the Graces were often associated with social virtues such as hospitality, generosity, and goodwill. These qualities were highly valued in ancient Greece, where the act of hosting guests or sharing one's wealth was seen as a reflection of one's character. The Graces, as goddesses of charm and kindness, were invoked during gatherings and banquets to ensure that the event was filled with grace and beauty. It was believed that the Graces' presence at these occasions would not only elevate the social atmosphere, but also ensure that the relationships between guests were strengthened through mutual respect and joy. In the home, the Graces were seen as protectors of the family and the hearth. In a world where the gods were often invoked for guidance or favor in matters of life and death, the Graces were called upon for blessings of happiness and prosperity. They were the goddesses who brought light to the home, filling it with love, laughter, and harmony. The rituals and prayers that mortals offered to the Graces were often simple ones, asking for the blessings of joy and peace in their families, for the prosperity of their relationships, and for the grace to live harmoniously with others. The Graces' role in mortal life was not limited to celebrations or rituals, but also extended to the creation of art and beauty. Greek artists, poets, and musicians often called upon the Graces for inspiration, believing that their divine influence would help them create works of lasting beauty. While the Muses inspired intellectual creativity, the Graces were believed to infuse works of art with an ethereal beauty that made them resonate with the heart. In this way, the Graces helped shape the cultural and artistic achievements of ancient Greece, reminding people that art is not only about skill, but about the beauty that comes from the soul. In literature, the Graces were often invoked as symbols of the joy and harmony that underpins human existence. They were seen as goddesses who could bring peace to troubled hearts and remind people of the importance of kindness and grace. In many stories, the Graces appeared as figures of calm and beauty, offering solace to those in need and providing a moment of respite from the trials of life. Their presence in these stories was not just a reflection of their divine beauty, but a reminder that life, even in its most challenging moments, held the potential for grace and joy. In a society that often celebrated strength, courage, and wisdom, the Graces represented the softer, more elusive qualities that were just as important to the balance of the world. They embodied the idea that true strength comes not only from physical prowess or intellectual might, but from the ability to be kind, to share love, and to bring beauty into the world. The Graces' influence on mortal life was a reminder that life's most precious gifts are often the ones that are felt rather than seen. The quiet moments of joy, the shared laughter, the simple acts of kindness that connect us all. For the ancient Greeks, the Graces were not just distant deities to be revered. They were part of the world around them, present in the beauty of nature, the laughter of friends, and the love shared between family members. They were a part of the fabric of life, helping to make the world a more harmonious and joyful place. The Graces were the divine figures who taught mortals how to live with grace, how to bring beauty into their relationships, and how to find joy in the smallest of moments. Through their influence, they elevated the human experience, reminding all who encountered them that life is not just about the pursuit of power or wisdom, but about the joy and beauty that can be found in every moment. In Greek art and sculpture, the Graces were often depicted in scenes of everyday life, dancing together or offering gifts to mortals. These depictions were meant to symbolize the beauty and joy that the Graces brought to the world. The Graces were not only figures of beauty themselves, they were also the bringers of beauty to the mortal realm. Their presence in art reminded mortals of the importance of creating beauty in their own lives and sharing it with others. Through their influence, the Graces encouraged people to live with grace and kindness, to bring joy and harmony into their relationships, and to appreciate the fleeting moments of beauty that pass by unnoticed. As goddesses of charm and beauty, the Graces also symbolize the ideal of living in harmony with the world around them. They taught mortals to appreciate the beauty of nature, to find joy in the simple things, and to share that joy with others. In a world that could often seem harsh and unforgiving, the Graces offered a reminder that there was always beauty to be found, and that the pursuit of grace, kindness, and joy was as important as any other goal. The Graces were not solitary figures in Greek mythology, but rather integral parts of a divine network that wove together the various aspects of existence, from the celestial to the mortal. Their relationships with other gods were fundamental to their roles in the cosmic order. As goddesses of beauty, joy, and charm, they were not only companions to the great goddesses like Aphrodite, but also formed meaningful bonds with gods who represented other realms, gods of music, wisdom, and even those of power and destruction. Through these connections, the Graces helped bring balance, harmony, and grace to the ever-expanding world of Olympus. One of the most significant relationships the Graces had was with Apollo, the god of music, poetry, and prophecy. Apollo, known for his intellectual and artistic pursuits, often found himself in the company of the Graces. The Charites, with their divine ability to inspire beauty and joy, complemented Apollo's artistic endeavors perfectly. Where Apollo provided the intellectual and spiritual depth to art, the Graces imbued it with a sense of lightness, grace, and emotional resonance. Together, they created music that could elevate the soul, poetry that stirred the heart, and performances that transcended the earthly realm. Apollo and the Graces were often seen as a divine trio, with the god of music playing the lyre and the Charites dancing in perfect harmony. Their union represented the delicate balance between intellect and beauty, the merging of the intellectual and the emotional in the realm of artistic creation. Through their collaborations, Apollo's music was not only filled with wisdom, but also imbued with the grace and charm that the Graces represented. The Charites, with their radiant beauty, made Apollo's performances come alive, creating works of art that were both profound and emotionally stirring. Another important relationship for the Graces was with Dionysus, the god of wine, revelry, and ecstasy. Dionysus, known for his exuberance and carefree nature, found the Graces to be kindred spirits. While his domain was often one of uninhibited joy and celebration, the Graces brought a sense of refined beauty to these experiences. Their presence at Dionysian feasts added an air of elegance to the revelry, turning each gathering into an artistic celebration of life itself. While Dionysus encouraged wild expression and abandon, the Graces infused these celebrations with harmony and grace, making them not only joyful but also beautiful. In Dionysian rites, where music, dance, and wine flowed freely, The Graces were seen as the divine patrons of the artistic elements of the festival. They symbolized the beauty that could emerge from moments of abandon, and the lightness that could come from a joyful yet graceful surrender to life's pleasures. Their relationship with Dionysus was a reminder that even in the most exuberant of celebrations, there is room for elegance and grace. Together, they represented the fullness of life, its highs and lows, its abandon and its beauty. The Graces were also closely associated with Hermes, the messenger god and god of transitions. Hermes, known for his wit, speed, and ability to move between worlds, was often depicted with a sense of joy and mischief. His connection with the Graces lay in their shared ability to bridge gaps. Hermes between the divine and mortal worlds, and the Graces between beauty and the divine. The Graces, in their role as companions to Hermes, helped ensure that his transitions between realms were not only swift but graceful, ensuring that the messages he carried were imbued with elegance and charm. Through their relationship with Hermes, the Graces also reminded mortals of the importance of kindness and grace in communication. Just as Hermes brought messages of change or transition, the Graces taught that those messages should be delivered with joy and grace, leaving a lasting impression not only with words, but with the beauty and kindness with which they were shared. Their influence on Hermes emphasized that even in times of change, there is an opportunity for grace and beauty to shine through. The Graces' role in the divine court was not confined solely to their relationships with the gods of beauty and the arts. They were also seen in the company of gods who governed the more serious aspects of life. In the company of Zeus, the king of the gods, the Graces brought a sense of balance to the often intense affairs of Olympus. Zeus, as the ruler of the heavens, dealt with matters of justice, power, and divine law, and the Graces were his reminder of the softer, more harmonious side of existence. Their presence in the divine feasts and councils brought an element of beauty and peace to the often stormy proceedings, creating a space for both power and grace to coexist. In this way, the Graces served as divine mediators, offering a calming and elegant influence wherever they went. They balanced the power and authority of the Olympian gods with their own gentle presence, ensuring that the divine world was not only one of law and force, but also of beauty, joy, and kindness. Their relationships with the gods, from Apollo and Dionysus to Hermes and Zeus, underscored the idea that even in the most powerful and intense realms, grace and beauty have their rightful place. The Graces were also seen in the company of Hera, the queen of the gods. As the goddess of marriage and family, Hera's connection with the Graces was deeply rooted in the themes of love, commitment, and the harmonious relationships that are the foundation of family life. While Hera was often associated with the more serious aspects of marriage, such as loyalty and sacrifice, the Graces added an element of joy and celebration to these unions. Their presence at weddings and ceremonies ensured that these sacred bonds were not only strong, but also filled with love, beauty, and grace. The graces, as embodiments of beauty, joy, and harmony, were essential to the rituals and celebrations of ancient Greek society. These goddesses, who were revered not only in the divine realm, but also by mortals, were thought to bring elegance and divine favor to human gatherings. Whether it was a wedding, a feast, or a victory celebration, the Graces were believed to be present, ensuring that every moment was filled with grace, charm, and joy. Their influence on human celebrations transcended the mundane, transforming these events into something sacred and harmonious. In Greek society, weddings were among the most important celebrations, and the Graces played a central role in these unions. Marriage, in ancient Greece, was not just a personal affair. It was a social and religious event, a union of families and communities. The Graces, with their embodiment of love and beauty, were invoked to bless the couple's new life together. Their presence at a wedding ensured that the bond between the bride and groom was not only strong, but also filled with grace and joy. The Graces were seen as the divine symbols of marital harmony, and it was believed that their influence would bring peace, love, and happiness to the couple's life. During the wedding feast, where guests would gather to celebrate the union, the Graces' influence was thought to fill the air with laughter, music, and a sense of shared joy. Their dances were often part of the festivities, and their graceful movements added a divine touch to the celebration. As the Graces danced, they were not only performing for entertainment, they were symbolizing the joy and beauty that would accompany the couple's journey together. Their presence reminded all who attended that love and joy were not just emotions to be experienced, but sacred acts to be celebrated. Beyond weddings, the Graces were also invoked during public feasts and banquets, which were frequent occurrences in Greek society. These feasts, often held to honor gods, heroes, or significant events, were essential to the social fabric of Greek life. At these gatherings, the Graces brought a sense of balance and harmony. Their influence ensured that the feast was not just a display of food and drink, but a divine gathering where beauty, charm, and grace permeated every interaction. In many ways, the Graces embodied the very spirit of hospitality, which was a cornerstone of Greek culture. The Graces were also celebrated during festivals that honored the gods, such as the festivals for Dionysus, the god of wine, revelry, and celebration. These events, which often involved music, dance, and the consumption of wine, were filled with exuberance and joy. However, it was the Graces who helped ensure that these celebrations were also filled with elegance and grace. While Dionysus encouraged freedom and abandon, the Graces provided the balance that kept these celebrations from descending into chaos. Their presence elevated the revelry, reminding all who participated that beauty and joy could exist in harmony with the more spirited aspects of life. In addition to feasts and celebrations, The Graces were invoked during public performances, including theatrical productions, athletic competitions, and artistic displays. In ancient Greece, theatre was a highly respected art form, and performances were often dedicated to the gods. The Graces were believed to bring divine favor to these performances, ensuring that they were not only skillful, but also filled with beauty and emotion. Whether it was a tragic play or a light-hearted comedy, the Graces' influence made sure that the performances transcended mere entertainment and became something that could touch the heart and soul of the audience. The same was true for athletic competitions, such as the Olympic Games, where the Graces were called upon to bring not only skill and victory, but also grace and elegance to the athletes' movements. While the gods of war and power, such as Zeus and Ares, may have been invoked for strength and triumph, it was the Graces who reminded the athletes that beauty, grace, and dignity should accompany their efforts. The idea was not just to win, but to do so with poise and honor, and the Graces ensured that these qualities were present in the athletic feats performed in their honor. The Graces also influenced the arts of music and poetry, where they were considered divine muses. In times of celebration, artists, poets, and musicians would invoke the Graces to bless their performances and creations. The Graces were believed to provide inspiration that went beyond technical skill, helping artists infuse their work with joy, beauty, and an ethereal quality that made it unforgettable. Whether it was a poem that moved the soul, a song that lifted the spirit, or a painting that captured the heart, the Graces were the unseen force behind these creations, ensuring that beauty and harmony were present in all forms of artistic expression. Through their influence on human celebrations, the Graces became symbols of the ideals of Greek society: beauty, harmony, joy, and generosity. Their role in weddings, feasts, festivals, and performances showed the Greeks that life was not just about achieving power or success, but about finding joy in the simple pleasures of existence. It was through the Graces that the Greeks learned to appreciate the fleeting moments of beauty that filled their lives: the laughter of a child, the embrace of a lover, the sparkle of a festive gathering, and to celebrate those moments with all their hearts. In many ways, the Graces were the perfect reflection of the human desire for balance. They showed that beauty and joy could exist alongside hardship, that grace could be found even in the most difficult of circumstances. Their influence on human celebrations was a reminder that life was not only about the grand achievements or the struggles of everyday life, but about the moments of beauty and joy that could transform the ordinary into the extraordinary. Through their presence, the Graces taught the Greeks, and continue to teach us, that celebration, art, and beauty are as essential to the human experience as any other pursuit. The Graces, with their divine embodiment of beauty, joy, and harmony, were frequently depicted in ancient Greek art and sculpture. These portrayals were not merely aesthetic. They carried deeper meanings about the qualities the Graces represented and the role they played in the divine and mortal worlds. Through these works of art, the Graces were immortalized, and their influence on beauty and creativity was visually passed down to future generations. The sculptures and paintings that captured their forms became more than just representations of their divine beauty. They were a celebration of the ideals of grace and harmony that the Graces personified. In ancient Greece, sculpture was one of the most revered art forms, and the Graces were among the most popular subjects for sculptors. In these works, the Charites were often depicted as graceful young women, sometimes holding hands or dancing together in perfect harmony. Their poses, usually elegant and fluid, conveyed a sense of unity, beauty, and balance. The figures were often designed with a sense of lightness, as though they were floating or moving effortlessly through the air. This sense of ease was not just a reflection of their divine beauty, but also a representation of the grace with which they moved through the world. One of the most famous sculptures of the Graces is the Three Graces by Antonio Canova, though it was created during the neoclassical period. This piece captures the three goddesses in a tender embrace, their bodies entwined in a seamless expression of unity and harmony. The figures are portrayed with a soft, fluid quality, reflecting the idea that the Graces embodied not just physical beauty, but also a serene and peaceful spirit. The sculpture exemplifies the classical ideal of beauty, where form and grace are inseparable, and where the very act of creation becomes a form of divine expression. In earlier Greek depictions, the Graces were often shown in the company of other gods, or as attendants to Aphrodite, their divine mother of beauty and love. These artworks emphasized their connection to the goddess, underscoring the Graces' role in enhancing the beauty and charm that Aphrodite embodied. In such works, the Charites were frequently portrayed as young women with flowing hair and delicate, almost ethereal forms, embodying both youth and grace. Their faces were often serene, conveying a sense of inner peace and harmony. These images of the Graces were meant to inspire awe, not just for their beauty, but for the way in which they represented the divine harmony of the world. The Graces were also depicted in the context of social life, especially in scenes of feasts, banquets, and other celebrations. In these representations, the Graces were shown in various poses, dancing, playing music, or simply sharing moments of joy and beauty with the gods and mortals around them. These scenes were not just decorative. They conveyed the importance of beauty, grace, and harmony in all aspects of life. The Graces in these moments were reminders that joy and beauty should be embraced and celebrated, not just in the grand moments of life, but in the everyday interactions that make up our existence. Beyond sculpture, the Graces were also immortalized in ancient Greek pottery. On painted vases and other forms of ceramics, the Graces were often depicted dancing or engaging in playful, harmonious activities. These images were not only aesthetically pleasing, but also served as a reminder of the values of beauty and harmony that were central to Greek society. These works of art which adorned everyday objects, brought the graces into the homes of mortals, ensuring that their influence was felt in the most ordinary moments of life. The depiction of the graces in art was also symbolic of the Greek ideal of balance. The graces, as a trio, were often portrayed in compositions where each figure complemented the others, creating a sense of harmony and unity. This unity reflected the way in which the graces themselves were interconnected, with each goddess representing a different aspect of grace, yet all of them working together to create something greater than the sum of their parts. In art, the graces were the embodiment of the perfect balance between beauty, joy, and charm, qualities that were essential to the well-being of both gods and mortals. The influence of the graces extended beyond the classical period. In later artistic traditions, the concept of grace and beauty as exemplified by the graces continued to inspire artists. In Renaissance and Baroque art, the idea of divine beauty and harmony was often invoked, and the graces, along with other mythological figures, were portrayed as symbols of idealized beauty and the pursuit of harmony in art. The graces remained, throughout the centuries, symbols of the timeless ideals of balance, joy, and beauty, qualities that continue to resonate in the artistic traditions of today. In addition to their role as figures in sculpture and painting, the graces also symbolized the artistic process itself. Just as the graces brought harmony to the divine world, artists sought to bring harmony to their work. In this sense, the graces were not only subjects to be depicted, but also muses that inspired the creative process. Artists looked to the graces for guidance in how to bring balance and beauty into their works, using their divine attributes as a model for the harmonious relationship between form, content, and emotion in art. Through their presence in art, the graces continue to remind us of the importance of beauty and harmony in the world. They show us that grace is not merely something to be admired, but something to be shared. Through art, music, dance, and the simple acts of kindness that make life beautiful. Whether depicted in a marble statue or a painted vase, the graces serve as eternal symbols of the divine qualities that elevate life and make it worth living. Their influence on the arts has ensured that the world of beauty and creativity remains infused with the divine light of harmony, joy, and grace. In Greek mythology, the graces were not merely symbols of physical beauty or charm. They were also deeply connected to the concept of divine favor. As daughters of Zeus, the king of the gods, and Eurynome, a daughter of the Titans, the Charites were born with a special divine status. Their very existence represented a form of divine favor, and it was believed that those blessed by the graces were granted not only beauty and charm, but also the favor of the gods. The graces, through their grace and kindness, bestowed blessings upon both gods and mortals, making them one of the most revered divine trios in the Greek pantheon. Divine favor, in the context of the graces, was not about power or dominance. Instead, it was tied to the qualities of beauty, harmony, and kindness that the Graces personified. To be touched by the Graces was to experience a deep sense of joy, peace, and connection with the divine. It was believed that those who possessed charis, the divine grace, were not only blessed with physical beauty, but also with inner qualities that made them beloved by the gods. This favor was something that elevated a person's life, making them more attractive not just in appearance, but in spirit. And it was a favor that carried with it the promise of joy, harmony, and divine protection. In Greek culture, to be favored by the gods was a great honor, and it was often seen as a sign that one was in harmony with the divine order of the universe. The Graces, as divine dispensers of favor, represented the softer aspects of this divine connection. While other gods were known for their power over the elements, war, or wisdom, the Graces influenced the heart and spirit, imbuing those they favored with the kind of beauty and joy that transcended the physical. Their favor brought peace, happiness, and a sense of inner grace that allowed mortals and gods alike to navigate the world with ease and harmony. The idea of divine favor, as given by the Graces, was deeply connected to the ancient Greek value of xenia, hospitality, or the sacred bond between host and guest. In a world where personal relationships and social bonds were paramount, the Graces represented the qualities of kindness, generosity, and hospitality that were vital to maintaining social harmony. To offer hospitality was to show favor to others, and the Graces were invoked to ensure that such acts of kindness were rewarded with the blessings of the gods. Their presence in these social rituals ensured that the bonds formed between individuals were not only strong, but filled with grace and mutual respect. The Graces' influence on divine favor was also reflected in the way they were called upon during moments of celebration and ritual. During feasts, weddings, and public gatherings, the Graces were invoked to bless the occasion with their divine presence. Their favor was thought to bring beauty and joy to the event, turning it into something sacred. The Greeks believed that when the Graces were present, the gathering would be filled with not just physical beauty, but also a sense of harmony and connection. Their favor, in this sense, was a divine gift that turned ordinary moments into extraordinary ones, elevating human experiences and creating a sense of unity among participants. In mythology, those who had the favor of the Graces were often depicted as living lives filled with harmony and success. Heroes and heroines who were blessed by the Graces often found themselves surrounded by love, joy, and beauty. The Graces' favor could transform a mortal life, filling it with the kind of beauty that could not be bought or achieved through effort alone. It was a gift from the gods that granted people the ability to see and create beauty in the world around them, making their lives richer and more fulfilling. The Graces were also invoked to bring divine favor to artists, musicians, and poets. It was believed that those who were favored by the Graces could create works of extraordinary beauty, whether in the form of a painting, a sculpture, a poem, or a song. Artists often prayed to the Graces, asking for their blessing before embarking on a creative project. The Graces, in turn, were believed to inspire the artist's work, infusing it with the divine beauty and grace that were their trademarks. This divine favor transformed the artist's creations, turning them into works that were not only aesthetically pleasing, but emotionally resonant, capable of moving the hearts and souls of those who experienced them. The Graces' role in granting divine favor was not limited to the arts or public celebrations. They were also seen as the protectors of personal relationships. In marriage, for example, it was believed that the Graces could bless the union, ensuring that the relationship was filled with love, harmony, and mutual respect. Their favor was seen as a divine gift that helped couples navigate the challenges of life together, reinforcing the bond between them. This favor extended to families as well, ensuring that the home was a place of peace and joy, filled with the beauty that the Graces represented. In this way, the Graces were not just goddesses of beauty and joy, they were also the divine protectors of the human experience. Their favor brought people closer to the gods and to one another, fostering connections that were based on kindness, love, and beauty. They helped ensure that life's most important relationships, whether between lovers, friends, or family members, were filled with grace, making these connections not only beautiful, but sacred. Through their divine favor, the Graces left an enduring legacy in Greek mythology. Their influence was felt not just in moments of celebration, but in the everyday interactions that shaped the lives of mortals. The Graces taught that beauty and joy are not just fleeting experiences, but divine gifts that can elevate the human spirit, filling it with harmony and peace. To be favored by the Graces was to live a life filled with the highest expressions of beauty and kindness, qualities that have continued to resonate throughout history and continue to inspire us today. The Graces, as divine embodiments of beauty, joy, and harmony, held a unique and significant role in shaping human relationships, both in the mortal realm and beyond. They were more than mere goddesses of charm and elegance. They were symbols of the qualities that underpinned meaningful connections, kindness, generosity, and mutual respect. Through their influence, they encouraged mortals to embody these virtues in their relationships with one another, serving as reminders that true beauty in human connection was not merely based on physical appearance, but on the qualities of the heart. In ancient Greek culture, relationships were of paramount importance. They were the foundation of both personal and social life. The Graces, through their divine presence, were believed to bless human relationships with love, joy, and harmony. Whether it was the union between a husband and wife, the bond between friends, or the ties that bound families together, the Graces played a vital role in ensuring that these relationships were filled with grace. Their influence was thought to bring peace and understanding, preventing conflicts from arising and fostering deeper, more meaningful connections. In marriages, the Graces were particularly revered, as their influence was believed to ensure that the bond between partners would be one of mutual respect, affection, and harmony. Weddings were sacred occasions in ancient Greece, and the Graces were often invoked to bless the couple with a joyful and successful union. They represented the ideal of marital bliss, where love was not just a fleeting emotion, but a constant source of joy and support. Their presence at weddings signified that the relationship would be one that was filled with beauty, not just in appearance, but in the way the partners treated one another, with kindness, grace, and patience. The Graces' influence on relationships extended beyond marriage, however. In friendships, they were believed to inspire the bonds of loyalty, mutual respect, and affection. The Charities represented the qualities that made a friendship genuine, sharing moments of joy, offering support in times of need, and creating a harmonious and positive connection between individuals. They were the divine reminder that true friendships were not built on self-interest or fleeting pleasures, but on genuine care and grace. The Graces encouraged people to nurture these relationships, imbuing them with a sense of warmth and kindness that would last a lifetime. In families, the Graces' influence was thought to create an atmosphere of love and understanding. In a society where family relationships were central to social structure, the Charities were seen as protectors of familial harmony. Their presence ensured that the home would be a place of peace, where the bonds between parents and children, siblings, and extended family members would be strong and supportive. They were believed to bless families with the ability to resolve conflicts with grace, to maintain balance and unity, and to ensure that love and respect were always at the heart of family life. The Graces' role in human relationships was not confined to romantic or familial bonds. They were also seen as the goddesses who fostered social harmony in the wider community. In Greek society, where hospitality and social connections were vital to maintaining order and prosperity, the Graces were invoked to ensure that interactions between strangers, guests, and hosts were filled with generosity and kindness. The concept of xenia, the sacred bond between host and guest, was deeply tied to the influence of the Graces. They were thought to bless acts of hospitality, ensuring that guests were treated with respect and kindness, and that the bond between host and guest was one of mutual generosity. The Graces also embodied the idea that beauty and kindness should be shared freely with others. In Greek culture, there was a strong belief in the importance of communal joy and the sharing of beauty. The Graces, through their influence, encouraged mortals to create relationships not based solely on personal gain, but on the desire to spread joy, beauty, and love. Whether it was through the sharing of art, music, dance, or simply through acts of kindness, the Graces reminded people that life was enriched when beauty and harmony were shared with others. In the larger social structure of ancient Greece, The Graces were seen as patrons of social harmony. They were believed to bring people together, ensuring that their relationships, whether personal or communal, were founded on respect, kindness, and love. Through their influence, they created a world where the bonds between individuals were filled with joy, and where every relationship, no matter how small or large, could reflect the divine beauty and grace that the Graces personified. While the Graces' influence was most often associated with the positive aspects of relationships, their role in Greek mythology also reminds us that beauty, love, and joy can sometimes be fleeting. In a world where challenges and hardships are inevitable, the Graces provided mortals with a divine model for navigating difficult relationships. Their presence was a reminder that even in times of conflict, there was always the possibility of grace, of finding beauty in the resolution, joy in reconciliation, and harmony in unity. They taught mortals that love and kindness could heal even the deepest wounds, and that through grace, any relationship could be restored and renewed. In modern terms, the Graces continue to serve as timeless symbols of what makes relationships meaningful. They remind us that true beauty in human connection comes not just from outward appearances, but from the qualities we nurture within: kindness, joy, and generosity. Whether in our romantic relationships, friendships, or familial bonds, the Graces encourage us to create connections that are rooted in love and grace, transforming our interactions with others into moments of beauty that transcend the ordinary. The Graces, as personifications of beauty, joy, and charm, were closely linked to the idea of reciprocity, an essential principle in ancient Greek society. Reciprocity, or antidosis, was a concept deeply ingrained in the social and divine order, where acts of kindness, hospitality, and beauty were returned with favor, respect, or admiration. The Graces represented the divine embodiment of this idea, where beauty and kindness were not simply to be admired, but shared freely, creating a cycle of positive energy that enriched both the giver and the receiver. In Greek mythology, the Graces were often depicted as offering gifts of beauty, charm, and joy to the gods and mortals alike. Their presence was not only a reflection of divine generosity, but also a reminder that beauty and grace are meant to flow through the world, touching all beings. The Graces, through their actions, demonstrated that kindness and beauty were not finite resources, but something that could be shared and passed along, creating harmony and goodwill in the process. This cycle of giving and receiving, of charis flowing from one being to another, was at the heart of the Graces' influence in both the divine and mortal worlds. The concept of reciprocity was especially important in the relationships between mortals and the gods. In Greek culture, the gods were not distant figures who demanded worship in exchange for blessings. Rather, the gods, including the Graces, were believed to engage in a mutual exchange with mortals. Mortals would offer acts of devotion, prayers, and sacrifices, and in return, the gods would bestow their favor, blessings, and divine grace. The graces, as embodiments of beauty and kindness, made this exchange a sacred one, where acts of beauty, generosity, and harmony were reciprocated by the gods through divine favor. This idea of reciprocity ensured that the divine world remained balanced and harmonious as gods and mortals continuously gave and received from each other. The Graces' role in this process was to ensure that beauty, joy, and kindness were not one-sided, but were shared among all. They were the divine forces that brought balance to the world by ensuring that acts of grace were passed from one being to another. The more beauty, joy, and kindness that were shared, the more these qualities were replenished in the world, creating a continuous cycle of harmony. The Graces reminded mortals that the more they gave to others, whether through acts of kindness, generosity, or beauty, the more they would receive in return, not just from the gods, but from the world around them. In their relationships with other gods, the Graces exemplified this reciprocity in their acts of service and companionship. As companions to Aphrodite, they shared in her beauty and love, amplifying her divine influence. In return, Aphrodite's love and beauty empowered the Graces to bring more joy and beauty into the world. Their relationship was one of mutual support, where the Graces enhanced Aphrodite's power, and Aphrodite provided them with the opportunity to express their divine qualities in the world. This exchange between the two goddesses created a harmonious balance that was essential to the fabric of the divine order. The Graces also engaged in reciprocal relationships with gods like Apollo, Dionysus, and Hermes, offering them their beauty and charm in exchange for the influence of art, music, and celebration. Through these relationships, the Graces ensured that the beauty and joy they embodied were not confined to their divine realm, but spread throughout the world of both gods and mortals. Their presence at feasts, celebrations, and artistic endeavors created a harmonious balance between the intellectual, the emotional, and the spiritual aspects of life, turning these moments into sacred acts of reciprocity, where beauty and joy were exchanged freely. For mortals, the Graces represented the principle of reciprocity in the most intimate and personal ways. In human relationships, reciprocity was central to the Greek understanding of friendship, love, and family. The Graces were often invoked to bless relationships with beauty, kindness, and harmony, ensuring that these qualities would be present in both the giving and receiving of love. In romantic relationships, the Graces were believed to ensure that the love between partners was balanced, reciprocal, and filled with mutual respect and admiration. The more love and beauty that was given, the more that would be returned, creating a cycle of joy and affection that strengthened the bond between lovers. In friendships, the Graces encouraged reciprocity through acts of kindness, support, and shared joy. True friendship, according to Greek ideals, was built on mutual respect and the free exchange of positive energy. The Graces, through their divine influence, reminded mortals that friendships should be based not only on shared experiences, but on a deep sense of kindness, trust, and reciprocity. The joy that one friend brought to another was always returned, creating a harmonious and lasting bond. The Graces also played a role in the family, where reciprocity was fundamental to the relationships between parents, children, and siblings. In a family where each member was expected to offer love, care, and support, the Graces ensured that these acts of kindness were reciprocated in a way that maintained harmony and balance. The Graces helped to create families where love was given freely and where the bond between family members was based on mutual respect, understanding, and beauty. In the broader social world, the Graces reinforced the importance of reciprocity in community life. Greek society placed a high value on acts of generosity, hospitality, and kindness, and the Graces were believed to bless those who embraced these values. When a host welcomed a guest into their home, they were expected to provide food, shelter, and kindness in exchange for the guest's gratitude and respect. The Graces ensured that these acts of hospitality were not only materially rewarding, but also filled with beauty and grace, creating a cycle of goodwill and joy within the community. Through their embodiment of charis and reciprocity, the Graces taught mortals that beauty and kindness are not meant to be hoarded or kept to oneself, but shared freely. This cycle of giving and receiving, of beauty and grace flowing between all beings, is what makes life harmonious and fulfilling. The Graces' influence ensured that reciprocity was at the heart of human relationships, creating a world where kindness, beauty, and joy were always in motion, always returned, and always shared. The Graces, as goddesses who embodied beauty, joy, and harmony, served as divine mediators, bridging the often complex relationships between the gods, mortals, and the natural world. While many gods in the Greek pantheon represented specific forces or domains, such as war, wisdom, or the sea, the Graces had a more subtle, yet no less significant role. They were the goddesses who mediated the flow of beauty and joy in the world, ensuring that these qualities were shared equally between the divine and mortal realms, creating a harmonious balance in all aspects of life. The Graces' role as divine mediators was most evident in their interactions with both gods and mortals. In the divine world, where gods often wielded immense power and influence, the Graces acted as a reminder of the softer, more harmonious aspects of existence. Their presence in the feasts and gatherings of the gods reminded the Olympians that even in their pursuit of power and influence, beauty, joy, and grace were essential to maintaining balance. The Graces ensured that the gods did not become consumed by their divine roles, and that they could find moments of respite, joy, and beauty amid their often serious and weighty duties. This divine mediation extended to the mortal realm as well. The Graces were invoked during important human ceremonies, such as weddings, feasts and festivals, where their presence was believed to bless the occasion and ensure that the gathering was filled with harmony and beauty. Whether at a wedding, where the union of two souls was celebrated, or at a feast where the bounty of the earth was shared, the Graces brought a sense of grace to these moments. Through their influence, they ensured that the beauty of the world was not confined to the divine, but was present in the everyday lives of mortals as well. In their role as mediators, the Graces also helped guide the relationship between the mortal and divine worlds. While other gods were more focused on commanding or ruling, the Graces operated through gentle influence, reminding both gods and mortals of the importance of beauty, joy, and harmony in their interactions. They mediated between the more intense forces of the divine, such as war, power, and wisdom, and the softer, more emotional aspects of life, ensuring that both were in balance. Without the Graces, the world of gods and mortals would have been incomplete, for they embodied the understanding that beauty and joy must be woven into the very fabric of existence. One of the most profound ways in which the Graces acted as mediators was in their connection to the concept of charis, or grace. The idea of charis was not just about outward beauty or charm. It was a divine force that connected gods and mortals, creating an unspoken bond of mutual respect and love. The Graces, through their embodiment of charis, helped to foster this divine connection between the realms. It was through charis that mortals could receive blessings from the gods, and through charis that the gods could show their favor to mortals. The Graces were the vessels of this divine exchange, ensuring that the flow of grace between the realms was unimpeded. The Graces' role as divine mediators was also reflected in their involvement with the other deities. As companions to Aphrodite, the goddess of love, the Graces helped facilitate the flow of love between gods and mortals. They acted as intermediaries between the world of desire and the world of beauty, ensuring that love was not just an emotion, but a divine experience that could bring harmony and joy to both realms. Their presence in the stories of Aphrodite reminded everyone that love, while powerful, could also be gentle, graceful, and filled with beauty. Similarly, the Graces' relationship with Apollo, the god of music and prophecy, was one of harmony and cooperation. Apollo, as the god of intellect and inspiration, often sought the company of the Graces to ensure that his works were not only profound, but also filled with beauty and grace. The Graces helped Apollo turn his intellectual pursuits into something that could touch the heart, ensuring that his music and poetry were not just brilliant, but also emotionally resonant. In this way, the Graces acted as mediators between intellect and emotion, ensuring that both were in balance in the creative process. The Graces also had a role in mediating between the gods of nature and the mortal world. As embodiments of beauty and joy, they were present in nature's most beautiful expressions. The bloom of flowers, the song of birds, the laughter of children. They acted as the divine messengers who reminded mortals that the beauty of the natural world was a reflection of the divine order. The Graces ensured that the mortal world was in harmony with the rhythms of nature, bringing balance to the way humans interacted with the world around them. Their influence on the natural world ensured that beauty, joy, and grace were always present, whether in the most grandiose moments or the simplest, quietest ones. In Greek mythology, the Graces were frequently depicted as joyful and playful, embodying the idea that life, despite its struggles, was meant to be celebrated. They were not deities who demanded reverence through power or fear, but rather through the gentleness and harmony that they brought to the world. Through their mediation, the Graces ensured that the divine world remained in balance, that love and beauty could flourish, and that the mortal world could experience the divine in the everyday moments of life. The Graces' role as divine mediators taught mortals that true beauty was not just something to be admired, but something to be shared. They encouraged the exchange of grace between gods and mortals, between one person and another, creating a world where beauty, joy, and love were freely given and received. Through their influence, the Graces created a world where all beings could live in harmony, celebrating the divine qualities that connected them. In Greek mythology, the Graces were not only embodiments of beauty, joy, and harmony, they were also intertwined with the cycle of life itself. Their presence in the myths of gods and mortals represented the essential aspects of existence: birth, growth, love, and death. While the Graces were most often associated with the joyful and celebratory moments of life, their role was also to remind both gods and mortals of the fleeting nature of time and the beauty that can be found in all stages of existence. The Graces represented the kairos, the right moment, the opportune time, when beauty, joy, and harmony align to create something perfect. In their presence, everything seemed to flow naturally, effortlessly. This divine alignment reminded mortals that beauty is not just about what can be seen, but also about the grace that comes with living in tune with the cycles of nature and time. Their influence over the passage of time was subtle but profound, ensuring that even in moments of sorrow or hardship, there was always the potential for grace and beauty to emerge. Their role in the cycle of life was most clearly expressed in their connection to fertility and growth. As daughters of Zeus, the king of the gods, and Eurynome, a daughter of the Titans, the Graces were seen as divine agents of creation and renewal. They were linked to the natural cycles of the earth, where birth and growth follow death and decay. In Greek culture, where the seasons were viewed as a manifestation of divine order, the Graces were believed to be present in the transitions between seasons, marking the time of harvest, renewal, and rest. As symbols of growth, the Graces reminded both gods and mortals that beauty and joy were not static, but part of a continuous cycle. Life, in its many forms, was always changing, moving between states of growth, celebration, and rest. The Graces were there to ensure that each phase of life was filled with beauty and grace. They represented the understanding that the joys of life, like the beauty of a blooming flower, are brief and fragile, but also essential to the continuity of the world. Through their influence, they showed that beauty could be found even in the most transitory of moments. In their role as agents of growth and beauty, the Graces were often invoked during rituals connected to the harvest, fertility, and the cycles of nature. During these rituals, mortals would offer prayers and sacrifices to the Graces, asking for their blessing on crops, families, and the coming seasons. The Graces, in return, would ensure that the land would be fertile and that the fruits of the earth would be abundant. This divine connection between the Graces and the natural world underscored the belief that beauty and growth were inextricably linked to the cycles of time. The Graces' connection to death was equally important. While they were not gods of death, their role in the cycle of life meant that they were present even in moments of loss and mourning. In Greek mythology, the concept of death was not viewed as something to be feared, but as a natural part of the divine order, a necessary transition that allowed for renewal and rebirth. The Graces' influence in times of death was subtle, providing a sense of peace and beauty amidst sorrow. Their presence reminded mortals that even in the face of loss, there is grace to be found in the remembrance of life's beauty and the love shared between people. In funerary rituals, the Graces were often invoked to bless the soul of the departed, ensuring that their journey to the afterlife was one filled with peace and grace. Their role in these rites was to bring a sense of closure and calm, transforming the sorrow of death into a moment of solemn beauty. The Graces' presence during these rituals symbolized the eternal cycle of life, death, and rebirth, an acknowledgement that beauty and grace transcend the physical realm and continue on in the hearts and memories of those left behind. The Graces also represented the idea of transformation. As forces of harmony and beauty, they were present during the moments of transition that marked the progression of life. Just as they embodied the transitions between seasons, they were also seen in the transitions between stages of life, childhood to adulthood, youth to age, and life to death. These moments of transformation were seen not as endings, but as opportunities for grace and beauty to be discovered in new forms. The Graces taught that transformation, though sometimes difficult or painful, could also bring beauty and growth. In this way, the Graces served as a reminder that life is not a linear progression, but a series of cycles. From birth to death, from joy to sorrow, each phase of life offers its own unique beauty. The Graces embodied this beauty and reminded mortals to find grace in every stage of their existence, whether in the innocence of childhood, the exuberance of youth, or the reflection of old age. The Graces' influence was always present, ensuring that each moment was imbued with the divine beauty that transcends the ordinary. Their connection to the cycle of life also underscored the idea that beauty is not simply something that can be possessed, but something that must be continually nurtured and shared. The Graces taught mortals that beauty, like life itself, is fleeting and must be appreciated in the moment. They reminded all who encountered them that grace is found not in perfection, but in the acceptance of life's ebb and flow, its constant movement through seasons of joy, sorrow, growth, and rest. In the grand cycle of existence, the Graces ensured that beauty, joy, and harmony would continue to flow, passing from one moment to the next, creating a world that is forever in balance, forever in grace. Through their influence, the Graces taught mortals to live in tune with the cycles of life, to find beauty in every moment, and to appreciate the fleeting yet profound joy that comes with each stage of existence. The Graces, as embodiments of beauty, joy, and harmony, left an enduring legacy in both the divine and mortal worlds. Their influence transcended time, shaping not only the lives of the gods and mortals in ancient Greece, but also continuing to inspire future generations. They were not merely figures of beauty to be admired from a distance, but active agents who brought beauty into the world and taught others how to live with grace. Through their actions and their divine gifts, the Graces instilled a lasting understanding of what it means to embrace beauty in all its forms. In Greek society, beauty was not just an external characteristic. It was seen as a reflection of inner virtue, harmony, and divine favor. The Graces represented the ideal of beauty that went beyond appearances, encompassing the qualities of kindness, generosity, and joy. They taught that true beauty comes from within and can be found in the way one interacts with others and with the world. Their legacy was one of creating a world in which beauty, kindness, and joy were valued above all else, reminding both gods and mortals that these qualities should be nurtured and shared with others. The Graces' influence on the arts and culture of ancient Greece was profound and lasting. In the realm of sculpture, painting, and poetry, they served as both subjects and inspirations, providing a model for the ideal of beauty that artists sought to capture. The works of artists, poets, and musicians were often filled with references to the Graces, as they represented the highest expression of beauty and joy that could be achieved. Through these works of art, the Graces were immortalized, and their legacy continued to shape the cultural and artistic traditions of the Greeks. The Graces were often depicted in sculpture, where their fluid movements and serene expressions conveyed the sense of grace and elegance that defined their nature. These statues became symbols of the timeless beauty that the Graces embodied. Whether they were shown dancing together, offering gifts, or simply standing in harmony, the sculptures of the Graces captured the essence of divine beauty, ensuring that their legacy would live on for centuries. These works of art not only honored the Graces, but also served as a reminder to those who viewed them of the importance of beauty and grace in their own lives. In literature, the Graces were a frequent subject of poetic works, where they were praised not only for their physical beauty, but for the joy and harmony they brought into the world. Poets would invoke the Graces in their writings as symbols of the highest ideals of beauty and love. They were seen as the divine inspiration behind the works of the greatest artists, helping to create poetry, music, and stories that would endure long after the gods themselves had faded from memory. The Graces, in their role as muses, helped to shape the literary and artistic landscape of ancient Greece, leaving behind a legacy that would continue to inspire creativity and beauty in the world. Their influence also extended to the everyday lives of mortals, where the ideals of beauty and harmony that the Graces embodied became part of the Greek cultural consciousness. The Graces were invoked in rituals of celebration, such as weddings and festivals, where their presence ensured that these occasions would be filled with grace and beauty. Their legacy was one of creating a world in which beauty was not just something to be admired from a distance, but something to be experienced, shared, and celebrated. Through their influence, the Graces taught mortals to embrace beauty in all its forms, from the grandest moments to the simplest acts of kindness and joy. The Graces' legacy also extended beyond the borders of Greece, influencing cultures and traditions throughout history. In the centuries that followed, their ideals of beauty, grace, and harmony would continue to shape the arts, philosophy, and culture of the Western world. The concept of charis, or divine grace, would inspire countless works of art, literature, and music, all of which sought to capture the timeless beauty that the Graces personified. Their influence can still be seen in the art and culture of today, where the ideals of beauty, kindness, and joy continue to resonate with people from all walks of life. Through their legacy, the Graces taught humanity that beauty is not a fleeting thing to be admired from afar, but a divine quality that can be found in every aspect of life. They showed that beauty exists not just in the physical form, but in the way one interacts with the world and with others. It is in the kindness we show to one another, the joy we bring to the lives of others, and the grace with which we face life's challenges. The Graces reminded us that beauty, when shared freely, can transform the world, bringing joy, harmony, and love to all who encounter it. The Graces' enduring legacy also lies in their ability to inspire us to live with grace, to embrace the beauty that surrounds us, and to create harmony in our relationships, whether in the simplest acts of kindness or in the greatest works of art. Their influence continues to remind us that beauty is not just an ideal to be admired, but a divine gift to be cherished and shared. The Graces, in their eternal beauty, remind us that the pursuit of beauty and grace is not just about appearance, but about the way we live and the love we give to others. Their legacy, rooted in joy, kindness, and beauty, continues to inspire and uplift all who seek to live a life filled with grace. The Graces, as goddesses of beauty, joy, and harmony, stand as enduring symbols of the delicate balance that exists in the world. Their presence in Greek mythology is a reminder that beauty is not just something to be admired or desired, but something that embodies the perfect balance between body, mind, and soul. In a world often dominated by the more intense and powerful forces of the gods, such as war, wisdom, and the elements, the Graces offered a refreshing perspective, one that emphasized the importance of harmony, kindness, and joy. They taught that beauty was not something that could be achieved through force or power, but through the gentle influence of grace. The Graces were not only revered in ancient Greece, but also throughout Western culture, where they have come to symbolize the timeless ideals of balance and harmony. Through their influence on art, literature, and daily life, they continue to serve as a reminder of the importance of these virtues in human existence. Their divine grace, whether expressed through the beauty of a dance, the elegance of a sculpture, or the kindness of a simple gesture, transcends time, offering a glimpse into the eternal nature of harmony and beauty. In the context of Greek mythology, the Graces were often portrayed as symbols of the perfect union between the divine and the mortal. Their beauty and joy were not just divine gifts to be admired, but qualities that could be shared with the world. The Graces' influence was not limited to their interactions with the gods or their role in artistic creation. They were also present in the everyday lives of mortals. Their ability to infuse grace into the most mundane moments, whether through the kindness of a shared smile, a gesture of generosity, or the quiet beauty of a sunset, reminds us that beauty and harmony can be found in every corner of the world. One of the most enduring symbols of the Graces is the idea of balance. In their threefold nature, the Graces embodied the concept of balance in all aspects of life, between joy and sorrow, beauty and imperfection, love and loss. Each of the Graces represented a different aspect of beauty, but together they created a perfect harmony that could not exist without the others. This concept of balance, where each force complements the other, is central to the legacy of the Graces. They remind us that life is not about perfection, but about finding harmony in the ebb and flow of existence, where moments of beauty and joy are often fleeting, but always worth cherishing. The Graces also symbolized the balance between the human and divine. While the gods were often seen as powerful beings who influenced the world through force and command, the Graces represented a gentler, more harmonious divine influence. They were not gods of war, knowledge, or domination, but goddesses who brought beauty, joy, and balance to the world in a subtle yet powerful way. In this sense, the Graces embodied the idea that true power is not always about strength or control, but about the ability to inspire joy, create beauty, and foster harmony in the world. Their influence on art, music, and poetry further exemplifies the concept of balance. In Greek art, the Graces were often depicted in harmonious compositions, where their beauty was not just in their individual forms, but in the way they moved together as a trio. This unity and symmetry represented the balance that the Graces brought to the world. Their dances were not just performances. They were expressions of the divine order, where every movement was in perfect harmony with the others. Similarly, in poetry and music, the Graces' influence was felt in the way that different elements, whether rhythm, melody, or word, came together to create something greater than the sum of its parts. In this way, the Graces helped to shape the artistic ideals of ancient Greece, inspiring works that reflected the balance and harmony they personified. The Graces' role as symbols of balance extended into the world of relationships as well. In love, friendship, and family, the Graces were invoked to ensure that these connections were based on mutual respect, kindness, and harmony. Their presence in relationships was believed to foster understanding and affection, turning everyday interactions into moments of grace. Just as the Graces brought balance to the gods and to the world, so too did they help mortals find balance in their relationships. In romantic love, for example, the Graces ensured that the bond between partners was one of mutual joy and support, rather than one of possessiveness or discord. In friendships, they inspired acts of kindness, laughter, and shared joy, reinforcing the idea that true friendship is built on harmony and respect. The Graces also represented the balance between the physical and spiritual worlds. As goddesses who embodied both beauty and kindness, they served as a reminder that the beauty of the world is not only found in physical appearances, but in the way that beauty touches the soul. In Greek philosophy, the body and soul were often seen as separate but interconnected, and the Graces bridged this divide. Through their influence, they encouraged mortals to seek beauty, not just in the physical world, but in the deeper, more spiritual aspects of life. The Graces embodied the idea that true beauty arises when the physical and spiritual worlds are in harmony with one another. Their lasting legacy lies in their ability to inspire us to live with balance, grace, and kindness. In a world that often feels chaotic and uncertain, the Graces remind us that beauty can be found in the most unexpected places, and that the pursuit of harmony and joy is worth striving for. They show us that life is not about achieving perfection, but about finding balance in the moments of beauty, love, and joy that fill our lives. The Graces continue to be a symbol of the timeless ideals that transcend time, culture, and circumstance, offering us a vision of a world where beauty and harmony are always within reach. As the centuries passed, the Graces continued to inspire not only the artists and poets of ancient Greece, but also countless thinkers, artists, and philosophers throughout history. The themes they embodied, beauty, joy, kindness, and harmony, became symbols of idealized human existence, transcending the original cultural context and influencing later generations. In later periods of history, especially during the Renaissance and beyond, the Graces were reinterpreted and incorporated into various artistic and philosophical movements. where they remained as enduring symbols of the highest ideals of human nature. In the Renaissance, a time of great revival for classical ideals, the Graces took on new significance as embodiments of both divine and human beauty. Artists such as Sandro Botticelli, who had already incorporated classical themes into his work, turned to the Graces as representations of the divine harmony of the universe. His famous painting, The Birth of Venus, showcases not only the goddess Venus, but also the three Graces, whose delicate and graceful forms embody the ideals of beauty and elegance. These representations are a testament to how the Graces, though originally a part of Greek mythology, became an integral symbol of Renaissance humanism, an artistic movement that celebrated the potential for beauty and excellence in the human experience. The Graces' portrayal in Renaissance art emphasized their role in the harmony of life. In these works, the Graces were often depicted as beautiful, youthful women, dancing together in unison, symbolizing the unity and balance of the human spirit. They were portrayed as goddesses who transcended the material world, embodying an ideal of beauty and grace that was both divine and attainable. Through their grace and beauty, they represented the harmony that could be achieved when individuals lived in accordance with the highest principles of kindness, generosity, and love. The Renaissance revival of the Graces reflected a shift in thinking, where the connection between beauty and virtue was seen as essential to the flourishing of human potential. The Graces also became central figures in 18th and 19th century European symbolism. As symbols of beauty and virtue, they were seen as ideal models of femininity. Writers, poets, and philosophers of the Romantic era, in particular, often turned to the Graces as examples of the perfect balance between body, mind, and soul. In their interpretation, the Graces symbolized the integration of physical beauty and inner goodness, a harmonious existence where both external charm and internal virtue were equally valued. This interpretation of the Graces as symbols of ideal femininity was not just about aesthetics. It was also about embodying the core virtues of generosity, kindness, and emotional depth. In literary works, the Graces were often invoked as metaphors for the delicate interplay between beauty and virtue. They represented the idea that beauty was not merely something superficial or transient, but a reflection of the deeper goodness of the soul. As such, the Graces became more than mere characters in mythology. They became symbols of how humans could aspire to live their lives with grace, bringing beauty to the world through kindness and generosity. In Romantic and Victorian literature, they were frequently used as symbols of pure love, benevolence, and emotional depth. The portrayal of the Graces in these eras reflected the deep respect for virtue, kindness, and beauty that permeated the cultural consciousness. In later interpretations, the Graces continued to embody the ideals of balance and unity. In modern times, They are seen not just as figures of beauty, but as symbols of inner harmony, an essential quality for navigating the complexities of contemporary life. The idea that beauty is not only physical, but also spiritual and emotional, resonates deeply in today's world, where external appearances often overshadow the deeper qualities of kindness, empathy, and generosity. The Graces, through their timeless representation of beauty and joy, remind us that true beauty lies in the way we treat others and in the balance we seek to maintain in our lives. The Graces' symbolism also speaks to the human desire for harmony in an often chaotic world. In an age where materialism, individualism, and the pursuit of external success can sometimes obscure the true meaning of beauty, the Graces stand as a gentle reminder that true fulfillment comes from within, from the cultivation of inner grace, kindness, and balance. Their timeless message encourages us to find beauty, not just in what is seen, but in what is felt, shared, and nurtured. In modern times, the Graces have found new life as symbols of the positive forces of femininity and grace. They are celebrated not only as divine goddesses, but as archetypes that transcend mythology, representing the potential for inner beauty in all individuals, regardless of gender. The Graces' timeless qualities, joy, beauty, kindness, and balance, continue to inspire those who seek to bring beauty, love, and kindness into the world. They embody the idea that grace is not simply an external feature, but a way of being, one that is reflected in how we treat others, how we approach life's challenges, and how we live in harmony with the world around us. Their influence extends far beyond art, literature, and philosophy. The Graces have become, in a modern sense, symbols of the quiet power that beauty, kindness, and joy hold in the world. In a time when we often look for greatness in the loud and the flashy, the Graces remind us that the most enduring power comes from living with grace, being kind, sharing love, and bringing joy to others. Their legacy is not just in the images they inspired, but in the way they continue to shape our understanding of beauty and virtue. The Graces teach us that true beauty is timeless and transcendent, and that in every moment there is an opportunity to live with grace. In modern times, the Graces have continued to capture the imagination of artists, writers, and thinkers across cultures, resonating with contemporary ideals of beauty, kindness, and harmony. While their ancient Greek origins remain at the heart of their mythological identity, the Graces have been reinterpreted and redefined in various ways throughout history, embodying not only physical beauty, but also the deeper qualities of inner grace and emotional strength. Their enduring presence in modern interpretations reflects the timeless relevance of the virtues they represent. In modern art and literature, the Graces are often reimagined not just as mythological figures, but as symbols of the human aspiration toward harmony and balance. While beauty remains an important aspect of their depiction, contemporary representations of the Graces focus more on their embodiment of grace under pressure, their kindness, and their capacity for creating unity in a divided world. In a society that often seems to place emphasis on outward appearances or fleeting success, the graces serve as a reminder that true beauty comes from within, and that the joy and beauty they represent can be found in kindness, compassion, and balance in our everyday interactions. In the visual arts, the graces are frequently portrayed in serene, elegant forms, embodying a kind of quiet beauty that transcends the chaotic world around them. Artists often depict them as graceful figures, sometimes dancing or interacting with each other in harmonious ways. Their portrayal in modern works of art emphasizes their role as figures of peace and balance, as beings who embody the peaceful coexistence of mind, body, and spirit. Their elegance is not merely physical, but reflects the inner harmony that can be achieved through a life lived with grace. In these portrayals, the graces remind us that true beauty is not just in the image itself, but in the way that image reflects the inner peace and kindness that is shared with the world. In literature, the graces continue to serve as metaphors for ideals of femininity and strength. Modern depictions of the graces often focus on their roles as nurturers, as figures who inspire creativity and beauty, while also being strong, independent, and wise. Writers often draw on the graces to symbolize the power of quiet strength and the enduring value of compassion. Rather than portraying them as passive symbols of beauty, these modern interpretations highlight their roles as active agents of change in the world, reminding us that beauty and grace, when combined with inner strength and kindness, can create real transformation. The graces' relevance also extends into contemporary philosophy, where their symbolism continues to be linked to the pursuit of balance in life. In a world where many people struggle with stress, anxiety, and the overwhelming pace of modern existence, the graces offer a model of how to live with elegance and joy amidst chaos. Philosophers and spiritual teachers often refer to the qualities of the graces as a guide for how to cultivate peace and serenity in one's life. They teach that grace is not just about outward beauty or charm, but about the way we handle the complexities of life, how we approach challenges with poise, how we treat others with kindness, and how we maintain our inner peace in a world that is often tumultuous. Moreover, in the realm of social justice and activism, the graces have been reimagined as symbols of compassion, inclusivity, and love. Their message is one of empathy, of extending grace and kindness to those who are struggling or marginalized. In this interpretation, the graces are seen as models of how to live in a way that promotes justice, equality, and mutual respect. They embody the idea that true beauty comes from our ability to connect with others, to listen, and to offer help when it is needed. The graces, as symbols of harmony, encourage us to embrace diversity, to create spaces of inclusivity, and to work toward a world where everyone has the opportunity to live with beauty, dignity, and respect. In the modern world, the graces have also come to symbolize the importance of balance in personal well-being. As people strive to juggle careers, personal lives, and societal expectations, the graces represent the need to find harmony between these different areas. Modern interpretations of the graces stress the importance of nurturing the body, mind, and spirit in equal measure. They teach that, much like their divine counterparts, humans can achieve true beauty and joy by fostering balance in their lives, by taking care of their physical health, cultivating their emotional well-being, and engaging in creative and fulfilling pursuits that bring joy. The graces, as symbols of divine favor, continue to inspire those who seek beauty, joy, and inner peace in their lives. Their influence in the modern world serves as a reminder that grace is not just an outward expression, but a reflection of the deeper qualities that lie within. By embodying grace, kindness, and beauty in our interactions with others, we can create a world that is more harmonious, more joyful, and more connected. In today's world, where there is often a focus on material success and external validation, the graces teach us that true success lies in living with kindness, balance, and an appreciation for the beauty that surrounds us. The enduring legacy of the graces is a testament to their timeless relevance. Their presence in both ancient and modern interpretations reflects the universal nature of the virtues they embody. The graces continue to inspire individuals and cultures around the world, reminding us all that true beauty is found not just in appearances, but in the way we live our lives with kindness, joy, and a harmonious spirit. The graces, as personifications of beauty, joy, and harmony, were deeply connected to nature in both Greek mythology and later interpretations. Nature, with its rhythms and cycles, was a source of endless inspiration for the graces, and they embodied the idea that beauty and grace could be found in the natural world. From the blossoming of flowers to the changing of the seasons, the graces were seen as the divine manifestations of the natural world's inherent beauty and harmony. They reminded mortals that nature, with all its beauty and cycles, was a reflection of the divine order, a divine order that the graces personified through their existence. In ancient Greece, nature and the gods were inseparable. The Greeks believed that the gods resided in the natural world, on mountains, in forests, and by the sea, and that their influence could be felt in every aspect of the earth. The graces, as goddesses associated with beauty, were intrinsically linked to the natural world, where beauty and harmony thrived. Whether in the growth of plants, the singing of birds, or the beauty of the changing sky, the graces embodied the perfect balance of nature's rhythms, bringing a divine presence to the beauty of the world around them. The changing seasons were particularly significant in the graces' relationship to nature. As the earth shifted from the blooming spring to the warmth of summer, the harvest of autumn, and the quiet dormancy of winter, the graces were thought to move with these cycles. their presence imbued in the transformation of the world. In spring, the Graces' presence was most vividly felt as flowers bloomed and life was renewed. In these moments, the Graces personified the youthful, fresh beauty that accompanied the start of a new season. As the earth moved into summer, their joy was reflected in the vibrant fullness of life. Lush gardens, ripening fruits, and a world full of energy and vibrancy. During the autumn months, when the earth began to prepare for rest, the Graces brought balance to the changes of the season. They symbolized the beauty found in the cycle of life, an acknowledgement that growth and decay were equally beautiful and necessary parts of the cycle. Winter, often a season associated with dormancy and rest, was also a time when the Graces' subtle presence was believed to bring tranquility, harmony, and a gentle beauty to the world. Even in the cold and stillness of winter, their influence ensured that beauty was never lost, but could be found in the quiet moments of the season. This connection to the seasons and the natural world also extended to the harvest. In the agrarian society of ancient Greece, the harvest was a sacred time, a time when the earth's gifts were reaped and abundance was celebrated. The Graces were invoked during these moments of celebration, ensuring that the fruits of the earth were not only plentiful, but also blessed with beauty and grace. They were seen as divine protectors of the harvest, ensuring that the bounty of the land was shared and enjoyed in harmony, and that the cycle of growth and renewal continued smoothly. The Graces' connection to nature also reflected their role in the lives of mortals. They were invoked to bless not only the harvests, but also personal endeavors and celebrations. Farmers, artisans, and artists all sought the favor of the Graces, believing that their influence could bring beauty, abundance, and joy to their work. Just as nature itself is a constant source of renewal, the Graces provided the same sense of renewal and grace to those who sought their favor. Whether it was through an artist's work, a poet's song, or a family's joyous gathering, the Graces were thought to bring an element of the divine into these everyday moments, just as nature brings divine beauty into life itself. In modern times, the Graces' connection to nature remains a source of inspiration for those who seek to live in harmony with the natural world. The idea that beauty and grace are intrinsic to nature itself is reflected in contemporary environmental movements, where the beauty of the earth is celebrated and protected. The Graces, as symbols of nature's divine beauty, continue to inspire individuals who seek to preserve and honor the natural world. They serve as a reminder that beauty, joy, and harmony can be found in the world around us, and that our connection to nature is a sacred one. For many, the Graces also represent the importance of living in balance with nature. Just as they embodied the cycles of growth, rest, and renewal, they remind us that we must respect and nurture the earth to maintain balance in our own lives. In a world that often emphasizes human achievement over natural harmony, the Graces encourage us to pause and appreciate the beauty that exists in nature and in the simple rhythms of life. Their influence encourages us to take time to reflect on the harmony that exists in the world and to seek to live in a way that fosters beauty, respect, and kindness toward nature. The graces also symbolize the deeper connection between beauty and life itself. Just as nature's beauty is fleeting yet eternal, so too is the beauty that the graces personify. Their presence in the natural world is a reminder that beauty is not confined to a moment or a season, but is ever present, waiting to be appreciated in all its forms. Whether through the blooming of a flower, the sound of a bird's song, or the stillness of the night, the graces show us that beauty and grace can be found in the simplest of moments. Their connection to nature is a testament to the idea that the divine can be experienced in the world around us, in the beauty of the earth and the harmony of the cycles of life. One of the most enduring qualities attributed to the graces in Greek mythology is their representation of eternal youth. As divine figures who personified beauty, joy, and harmony, the graces were often depicted as ageless, their youth never fading, and their beauty never diminishing. This timelessness was not just a reflection of their physical appearance, but also of their eternal role in the world. The graces existed beyond the bounds of time, embodying a concept of youth that was not confined to age, but was instead tied to the timeless qualities of vitality, joy, and grace. The graces' association with eternal youth reflects the ancient Greek understanding of youth as a vital force, full of potential and beauty. In Greek culture, youth was celebrated as a time of growth, energy, and creativity. However, the graces transcended this temporal concept of youth, offering a vision of youth as an eternal quality, one that could be expressed throughout all stages of life. They were not just youthful in appearance, but embodied the joy, vitality, and lightness that are often associated with youthfulness. Through their example, the graces showed that youth is not simply a matter of age, but a state of mind and spirit that can be maintained throughout one's life. In the divine world, the graces remained forever youthful, untouched by the passage of time, their beauty and joy eternal. This agelessness served as a reminder to both gods and mortals that beauty and grace do not fade with age, but can persist through the continuity of life. While mortals experienced the natural progression of age, the graces stood as symbols of the enduring qualities that make life beautiful: kindness, joy, and harmony. Their eternal youth was a divine ideal, showing that even in a world where time moves forward relentlessly, beauty and joy can remain constant. The idea of eternal youth also resonated with the Greeks' reverence for the natural cycles of life. Just as the seasons of the earth would go through cycles of birth, growth, decay, and renewal, so too did the graces embody a kind of cyclical timelessness. They were part of the divine rhythm of existence, where the beauty and joy they personified never ceased but were constantly renewed. In this sense, the graces' eternal youth was not about resisting the passage of time, but about embracing the cycles of life and finding beauty in every phase of existence. This eternal youth was not just about outward appearance, but about the spirit of life itself. The Graces reminded mortals that the true essence of youth is found in the ability to embrace joy, to live with beauty and grace, and to remain open to the possibilities of life. While the physical body ages, the spirit can remain youthful, vibrant, and full of energy. The Graces, through their divine presence, encouraged mortals to cultivate this eternal youth in their hearts and minds, allowing them to experience life with the same wonder and joy that youth brings. In art and literature, the Graces were often depicted as youthful, radiant figures, their beauty representing the ideal of a timeless, unchanging grace. They were often shown as elegant and harmonious, embodying the perfect balance of youth and beauty. Artists and poets, influenced by the concept of eternal youth, portrayed the Graces as eternal symbols of youthful vitality, bringing a sense of lightness and joy to their works. Their portrayal was not just about physical beauty, but about the spirit of life, one that remained ever youthful and full of possibility. The Graces' association with eternal youth also extended to their influence on the arts. Just as they embodied the vitality and creativity of youth, they inspired artists, poets, and musicians to create works that were infused with the same joy and beauty. They encouraged these creators to tap into the boundless energy and imagination that youth represents, reminding them that art itself could remain eternally fresh, full of life and full of grace. Through the Graces, the pursuit of beauty and creativity was never constrained by age or time. Art, like youth, could be timeless, continually renewed through the expression of beauty, joy, and harmony. In the context of human relationships, the Graces also symbolized the timelessness of love and connection. Just as youth is often associated with the innocence and excitement of new relationships, the Graces reminded mortals that love could remain vibrant and youthful, no matter the stage of life. Love, when nurtured with grace, kindness, and beauty, has the power to transcend time, remaining as fresh and joyful as the first moments of a new romance. The Graces' eternal youth was a divine reminder that love, in all its forms, can maintain its beauty and joy throughout life, just as the Graces themselves maintained their radiance and charm, regardless of age. The idea of eternal youth also played a significant role in the Greek understanding of the gods. The gods were not bound by the same limitations of age that mortals faced. They were often depicted as forever youthful, untouched by the ravages of time. The Graces, as goddesses of beauty and joy, embodied this divine agelessness, reminding both gods and mortals that beauty and grace are not confined to youth alone, but can be sustained throughout life. Their eternal youth symbolized the timeless nature of beauty and joy, which, when nurtured, can continue to bring vitality to the soul regardless of physical age. In a modern context, the graces continue to symbolize the idea that youth is not just about the physical body, but about the vitality of the spirit. In a world that often celebrates the outward signs of youth, the graces remind us that true youth is found in how we approach life, with joy, grace, and openness to the beauty that surrounds us. Their legacy encourages us to live with a sense of youthful wonder, no matter our age, and to embrace the eternal qualities of beauty, kindness, and harmony that can keep us feeling young at heart throughout our lives. Throughout history, the human desire for harmony has been one of the central themes in philosophy, art, and personal growth. From the early thinkers of ancient Greece to contemporary movements focused on mental well-being, humans have continually sought ways to bring balance and peace into their lives. The graces, as divine embodiments of beauty, joy, and harmony, symbolize this fundamental human longing for harmony within oneself and with the world around them. Their timeless message is that true happiness and fulfillment come from living a life of grace, where beauty, kindness, and balance guide every aspect of existence. In Greek mythology, the graces were often seen as divine agents of this harmony, not only in the world of the gods, but also in the lives of mortals. They were believed to help individuals achieve a sense of unity within themselves and with others. The graces embodied the idea that true beauty is not found solely in appearance, but in the harmony of one's inner and outer world. This concept continues to resonate today, where many individuals seek to align their thoughts, actions, and emotions to live in greater harmony with themselves and the people around them. The graces taught that harmony is not achieved by force or struggle, but through the gentle alignment of different elements of life: emotions, relationships, actions, and values. Just as their presence brought balance to the divine feasts on Mount Olympus and the celebrations on earth, the graces remind us that true peace comes from a balanced existence. They encourage individuals to find joy in simplicity, to nurture kindness in relationships, and to live in a way that fosters peace and beauty in all interactions. The human desire for harmony often manifests itself in the pursuit of peaceful relationships. The graces, as symbols of love, kindness, and mutual respect, provide an ideal model for how relationships should be approached. Whether romantic, familial, or platonic, the graces suggest that relationships flourish when they are rooted in mutual understanding, beauty, and generosity. Just as the graces personified the virtues of kindness and beauty in their relationships with one another, they also exemplify how these qualities can create harmonious connections between people. In romantic relationships, the graces embody the balance between passion and tenderness. Their gentle beauty serves as a reminder that love, while intense and transformative, should also be nurturing and balanced. They symbolize the idea that love is not about possession or control, but about mutual respect, joy, and shared beauty. This approach to love creates a space where both individuals can grow together, supporting one another through life's challenges while sharing in the beauty and joy of their union. The Graces show that harmony in love is achieved through kindness, respect, and an ongoing commitment to each other's happiness and well-being. In familial relationships, the Graces represent the harmony that should exist within the family unit. The balance between different personalities, needs, and roles within a family can often lead to tension. But the Graces remind us that familial bonds can be strengthened when there is an emphasis on understanding, grace, and support. They represent the ideal of families living in peace, where differences are celebrated rather than divided, and where love and care are the guiding principles. Through their example, the Graces teach that family life, much like their own divine relationships, should be filled with joy, mutual respect, and compassion. The Graces also encourage us to foster harmony in our interactions with the broader community. The ancient Greeks valued social harmony and believed that beauty, generosity, and kindness were essential for maintaining peace within society. The Graces embodied these values and were seen as protectors of social harmony. In a modern context, their message is still relevant as society continues to face divisions and challenges. By embodying grace and kindness in our interactions with others, we contribute to a more harmonious and connected community. The Graces remind us that the actions we take, no matter how small, can ripple out to affect the world around us, bringing peace and understanding to the people we encounter. The pursuit of personal harmony is also a significant aspect of human life. The Graces, as symbols of balance and beauty, encourage individuals to seek inner peace and alignment. In a world filled with distractions and stresses, the Graces remind us that true fulfillment comes not from external achievements, but from cultivating a sense of peace within. Their example encourages us to find balance in our emotions, to practice mindfulness in our daily lives, and to nurture our personal well-being. When we live in alignment with our values and inner truth, we can experience the joy and beauty that the Graces represent. This inner harmony, as embodied by the Graces, is also closely tied to creativity. The Graces, through their association with the arts, show us that creativity is not just about producing something beautiful, but about expressing harmony and balance. The act of creating, whether through art, music, writing, or any other form, becomes an expression of inner peace and joy. In their role as muses and symbols of divine beauty, the Graces teach that true creativity arises from a place of balance, where emotions and intellect are in harmony, and where the Creator is at peace with the process. In their symbolism, the Graces encourage us to bring beauty, joy, and harmony into all areas of our lives, whether through relationships, creativity, or personal growth. They provide a model for living a life that is balanced, fulfilling, and peaceful. Their influence is a reminder that, in the midst of life's challenges, we can find grace, beauty, and harmony within ourselves and the world around us. Through the graces, we are reminded that the pursuit of a balanced life is not just a personal goal, but a way to contribute to the larger harmony of the world. The graces, as symbols of beauty, joy, and harmony, continue to resonate in contemporary culture, inspiring not only the arts, but also shaping how we understand human relationships, personal growth, and the pursuit of happiness. While rooted in ancient Greek mythology, their message of balance and grace transcends time, offering lessons that remain as relevant today as they were in antiquity. In a world that often seems consumed by chaos, competition, and materialism, the graces remind us of the importance of inner peace, kindness, and living in harmony with ourselves and others. In modern literature and art, the graces have taken on new meanings, often serving as metaphors for the qualities that make life meaningful. Writers and poets continue to draw inspiration from the graces, portraying them not only as divine figures of beauty, but as symbols of the qualities that elevate human existence. Their representation in modern works is less about physical perfection and more about the inner beauty that transcends appearance. Contemporary interpretations of the graces focus on the subtle power of grace, how it can transform lives, relationships, and communities. In film and popular culture, the graces are often invoked as archetypes of idealized femininity and strength. They are depicted as women who embody both beauty and inner strength, using their grace to navigate life's challenges. These representations remind us that beauty is not just about external appearance, but about how we interact with the world and the people around us. In an era where women are often portrayed in ways that emphasize physicality or power, the graces offer a more balanced vision, one where beauty and strength coexist with kindness, empathy, and emotional depth. The graces also play a significant role in contemporary discussions of mental and emotional well-being. As society becomes more attuned to the importance of mindfulness, balance, and self-care, the graces represent the ideal of living a life filled with grace and harmony. Mental health professionals often encourage practices that align with the graces' virtues, such as fostering self-compassion, cultivating gratitude, and creating peaceful, harmonious relationships. The graces' emphasis on kindness, generosity, and inner beauty resonates with modern ideas about emotional wellness, highlighting the importance of nurturing one's inner life to find true peace. In the realm of personal development, the graces serve as an inspiration for those striving to live authentically and gracefully. The pursuit of a life filled with grace is seen not just as a matter of achieving external success or status, but as a journey toward aligning one's actions, thoughts, and emotions with the highest ideals of beauty, kindness, and joy. The graces embody the notion that personal growth is not just about achieving goals, but about cultivating qualities such as patience, empathy, and balance. Qualities that can transform the way we experience the world and relate to others. The Graces also offer guidance in the realm of social harmony. In a world that is often divided by differences, whether political, cultural, or ideological, their legacy reminds us of the importance of unity, understanding, and mutual respect. The Graces symbolize the power of kindness and generosity to bridge divides and foster connection. In modern discourse, their influence can be seen in movements that emphasize compassion, empathy, and cooperation. Whether in activism, community building, or international relations, the Graces continue to inspire those who seek to bring people together in a spirit of mutual respect and love. Their presence in contemporary culture is also evident in the ongoing fascination with the divine feminine. The Graces represent not only idealized femininity, but also a divine archetype that encompasses strength, beauty, wisdom, and compassion. In modern spiritual practices, the Graces are often invoked as symbols of the sacred feminine, embodying the qualities of nurturing, creativity, and harmony. They remind us that true power comes not from dominance or control, but from living in alignment with the natural rhythms of life, creating beauty and joy through our actions, and nurturing others with grace and love. In fashion and design, the Graces continue to serve as models of elegance and timeless beauty. Designers often look to classical images of the Graces for inspiration, drawing on their embodiment of grace, poise, and beauty. The notion of grace in design, whether in clothing, architecture, or interior decor, reflects the enduring appeal of simplicity, harmony, and balance. The Graces remind us that beauty is not only in the bold or the extravagant, but can be found in the subtle details, the quiet elegance, and the balance between form and function. Finally, the Graces are present in the personal lives of individuals who seek to live with grace, kindness, and beauty. In everyday interactions, people are inspired by the Graces to embody their qualities, whether in their relationships, work, or community activities. Their influence can be seen in the way people approach life, with a focus on harmony, gratitude, and the beauty that can be found in small moments of joy. The Graces encourage us to live with intention, to seek out beauty in all things, and to bring joy and kindness to those around us. In this way, they continue to shape the way we live, reminding us that grace is not something to be aspired to, but something to be practiced daily. In a world that often seems fast-paced and disconnected, the Graces offer a reminder of the timeless virtues of beauty, joy, and harmony. Their message encourages us to slow down, to appreciate the beauty in the world around us, and to cultivate the qualities of grace in our daily lives. The Graces, as symbols of eternal beauty, remind us that true beauty comes from living in harmony with ourselves, others, and the natural world. The Graces, as goddesses of beauty, joy, and harmony, hold a timeless significance, not just in Greek mythology, but in the understanding of human nature itself. They reflect the core of what it means to be human, the pursuit of balance, love, and kindness, as well as the intrinsic need for beauty in both our internal lives and the external world. Through their divine embodiment of these virtues, the Graces offer a profound reflection of the human spirit, teaching us that true beauty is found not in the perfection of form, but in the harmony of spirit and the generosity of heart. Throughout their mythological history, the Graces have been celebrated as divine figures who bring joy and beauty wherever they go. However, their true legacy is more than just aesthetic. Their importance lies in the timeless lesson they impart. Beauty and grace are inseparable from kindness and joy. The Graces are a symbol of the potential within every individual to live a life filled with harmony, to express love through action, and to embody a quiet strength in the way we relate to others. Through their example, they show that grace does not come from physical appearance alone, but from how we live and treat others. The Graces teach us that beauty is a reflection of the internal state, and true beauty is always accompanied by joy, kindness, and love. In a society often preoccupied with external appearances, the Graces serve as a reminder that the most powerful beauty lies within, found in the kindness we extend to others, the joy we bring into the world, and the grace with which we approach the challenges life presents. Their divine nature offers a powerful mirror to humanity, urging us to cultivate the qualities that make life beautiful, not only for ourselves, but for the world at large. Their influence transcends mythology and continues to inspire modern society. In a world that often focuses on achievement, success, and outward recognition, the Graces challenge us to reconsider what it means to live a meaningful life. They urge us to consider that true success lies in living with grace and authenticity, being present in the moment, offering kindness freely, and celebrating the beauty that exists in every part of the world around us. The Graces embody the idea that beauty, when coupled with joy and kindness, becomes an enduring force, capable of transforming both individuals and societies. The Graces also reflect humanity's yearning for connection and unity. In their mythological stories, the Graces are often depicted in harmonious unison, either dancing or holding hands. This imagery is symbolic of the ideal human relationship, one that is built on mutual respect, understanding, and shared joy. Through the Graces, we are reminded that the beauty of human relationships lies not in their perfection, but in their ability to bring balance and harmony to one another's lives. It is through the giving of love, the sharing of joy, and the offering of grace that we create relationships that can endure and flourish. The Graces also teach us about the importance of gratitude and living in the present moment. In their divine nature, they celebrate life's simplest pleasures, the beauty of a shared dance, the joy of a heartfelt smile, the peaceful harmony of two souls coming together. They remind us to appreciate the fleeting moments of beauty that surround us daily, whether in nature, in our relationships, or in acts of kindness. Through the graces, we learn that it is not the grand accomplishments that give life meaning, but the small, graceful moments that make life rich and worth living. In the broader sense, the graces reflect the balance that exists within the human experience itself. Life, with its joys and challenges, can often feel out of balance. But through grace, beauty, and kindness, we are reminded that balance can be restored. The graces embody the principle that even in the midst of hardship, we can find peace and beauty. They encourage us to approach life's difficulties with an open heart and a generous spirit, knowing that grace has the power to heal and transform even the darkest moments. As we reflect on the grace's enduring legacy, we realize that they offer us not just inspiration, but also a profound invitation. They invite us to live more gracefully by being kinder, more compassionate, and more mindful of the beauty around us. They urge us to create lives filled with meaning and joy, where every interaction, no matter how small, is an opportunity to express love and kindness. The graces, in their eternal youth and timeless beauty, offer us the gift of understanding that grace is not something to be sought externally, but something to be nurtured within. Through their influence, the graces challenge us to look beyond the superficial aspects of life and focus on what truly makes us beautiful: our hearts, our actions, and our ability to connect with the world in a meaningful and harmonious way. The graces are not just figures of myth. They are ideals that reflect the best of what it means to be human. They are a mirror to our own potential, reminding us that beauty, joy, and grace are not just ideals to be admired, but qualities to be lived, embraced, and shared with the world. As we come to the end of our journey through the story of the graces, we are reminded of the timeless lessons they impart. These divine goddesses, with their embodiment of beauty, joy, and harmony, serve as eternal symbols of what it means to live a life filled with grace. The graces teach us that beauty is not found in perfection or outward appearances, but in the kindness, generosity, and joy that we share with the world. Through their influence, we are encouraged to embrace harmony in our relationships, to seek balance within ourselves, and to find beauty in even the most fleeting moments of life. In their divine dance of unity, the graces show us that life is a balance between giving and receiving, between joy and sorrow, between love and kindness. Their message continues to resonate across time, reminding us that grace is not something to be admired from afar, but something to be lived. May we, like the graces, strive to live with beauty, kindness, and harmony in all that we do, and may their timeless legacy inspire us to find grace in every corner of our lives. Thank you for joining us in this peaceful journey through the mythic world of the graces. May you carry their lessons of beauty, joy and harmony with you always.